Hey everybody, it's Alex here, and on today's episode of the YaBonks Show, we've got two very special guests with us today. We've got Sir J over here, and we've got Bishop over here, and they are from Fathom Finance, a new protocol launching on Binance Smart Chain or BNB Smart Chain. And Fathom Finance is an interesting protocol to say the least. You've probably heard some of your other favorite YouTubers speaking about this recently. And Fathom Finance, it's a lot to sum up, but they like to say fathom a new way to do crypto. And they are redefining a lot of the mechanics that are commonly used in staking, tokenomics, circular economies, as well as referral systems and analytics tracking. They're doing all sorts of interesting things here. So we're going to dive right into it. Sir J, Bishop, do you guys want to say hi to the audience and maybe introduce yourselves a little bit?
Sure. Hello. Hello. How are you doing, sir? My name is Bishop. It's great to see you again here after all these years, and thank you for having us.
Hey, it's good to see you too. Just so my audience isn't super confused by that statement, Bishop and I actually ran against each other in high school, cross country, and track. So super small world. DeFi is a small space at the end of the day, and it's good to see you again too. It's been 15 or 20 years, man. How have you been? What have you been up to all these years?
Went to college, graduated with a neuroscience degree and minor in chemistry, then went on to neuromedical device sales. And I was in that for a little bit there and ended up running the American branch for a small Israeli company. And then COVID hit and everything went crazy, and I had a lot more free time on my hands. So I was able to get into DeFi and find a new passion. And I've been working on this project now for over 15 months. So 14, 15 months with Sergey himself. So
Wow. Well, I'm glad to hear you've been doing well. Sounds like you had a great college career and career so far. And now you're kind of like me, where you ended up in this wild DeFi space. So good to see you again, man. And Sir J, how about you?
Hey, Alex, thanks for having us on here. So I am Sir J. I guess my education, I've got actually a degree in computer networking from when after I got out of high school, and I wound up going back to school for aviation. Due to some life decisions, I wound up having to stop the aviation, but I did finish with a business degree, a bachelor's in business. I've actually been with the same company now for 9 years, but they've had a lot of changes, and what used to be a really good career has kind of turned into a not so good job. And I got into crypto with SafeMoon. And at the time I was working in the stock market, but then I noticed the potential gains that could occur in crypto, and it really caught my attention. And so I started just diving deep, was finding different projects, especially through like CoinMarketCap at first. And then got into another large program and wound up getting very involved with the community. And that's where Bishop and I met. And during all of that, I wanted to understand better how the stuff worked. So I started diving into all the transactions, seeing how things actually, the computations, and seeing how that stuff worked, and then learned how the automated market maker works. And then just started seeing a lot of flaws in many of these protocols that would eventually die, and started trying to figure out, hey, how can we do something that it doesn't have that same fate? And that's what Fathom came from.
Very cool. An interesting background. And I love how we all end up here in the DeFi space from these different backgrounds and life experiences. And we all come here initially for the crazy gains, but we stay because of the cool technology and being part of the early adoption of such an interesting space and technology. So thank you guys for joining me here today. I know you've done shows with a lot of my YouTuber friends already, and I'm glad to have you on my show now. I spent a lot of time looking through this. I have 7 pages of notes, front and back, and pages of questions written down. So I guess we'll just jump right into it. Do either one of you guys want to give me kind of like the elevator pitch, the 6,000 level foot level bird's eye view of Fathom Finance?
So yeah, I guess basically the initial thought behind this whole thing was having ownership in a reward stream, or initially we were looking at crypto miners, and that was well over a year ago. So we've kept that same idea, but we've switched what we're going to be earning revenue from to more validators and proof of stake mechanisms.
Now, crypto miners, just to clarify, do you mean like GPU and ASIC mining, or do you mean like the real kind of sketchy miner games like baked beans and stuff like that?
No, actually ASIC miners. Yeah. So okay, we were looking at, Bitcoin even a year ago wasn't so great, but Cadena was really hot. With Ethereum as well. That was more the GPU side, but we knew that the conversion was going to happen, so we weren't even looking at those. But yes, actual physical crypto miners, which are a little computer system that have one purpose. And those break, they stop working eventually, and then you end up with a very expensive paperweight, and they use a lot of energy. And so once we were trying to actually figure out how to run them, we kind of were like, okay, this is not ideal. This is going to take a long time to set up, and in the end, it's probably not going to be very profitable. So we just scrapped that idea and went on to looking at proof of stake.
Cool. So so this is so if you could sum it up in like just a couple sentences, Fathom Finance. Like if you were to approach me on the street and be like, I want to tell you about Fathom Finance, here's what it is, what would you say?
Well, I would say Fathom Finance is the revolutionary circular ecosystem built in DeFi, layer 2, that is all about fair value-based rewards. So, and also ownership in the validators and miners that we just talked about. So it's about ownership and fair value rewards from those miners.
Very interesting. That's a good way to put it. I like the philosophy that you've outlined there, rather than just the creative shuffling around of user funds back to other users, right? Like that's what we see a lot of out here, and it's good that you've incorporated revenue streams around those validators and staking protocols, proof of stake, and as like the nucleus around which this thing is created. So that way, if you guys do have a bunch of demand, it's not just like getting shuffled around. It's actually going into something that can scale and create more revenue to make more rewards that are actually sustainable, ideally, correct?
Right. Sustainable should be added into that definition as well. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah. Dude, sustainable is such a strange thing out here because people talk in time spans of months and years, and a lot of the projects that I see, maybe not necessarily all the ones I cover, but some of the ones that I see are like fly by night. They'll be around a couple weeks, maybe 3 months, and they're gone because they're not sustainable, although they might be interesting experiments, and that's great, just so that way the participants kind of have a good idea of what kind of project they're dealing with. So what would you say that your project Fathom Finance has a long-term outlook, or do you have a shorter time frame in mind for it, or are you guys thinking about this for years?
So we're thinking in shorter time frames and also into the years and decades. I mean, blockchain is forever. Once it's up and running and on the blockchain, as long as the layer 1 is operational, we want to be operational. But we're also thinking in shorter time frames because we also need to be able dynamic to the market and be able to adjust to what's happening in the current as well. So we will be going through different, 1 to 3 month time phases of different seasons that adjust the overall buyback rate and amount of rewards that we give out, as well as how that fits into our larger goal of, this being a lifetime long career for us. So that's where we're looking. We want a lifetime career from this.
I can relate to that. I'm trying to do this thing forever. I love this job. It's the best job ever, man. I want to be doing this for decades. So hopefully you guys are out here for decades too, and we can keep hanging out doing cool DeFi stuff. So with that all being laid out now, I want to touch on something you said there about seasons. So I can't stop thinking of the analogies that you guys use with your project. And you guys throw out the terms, like you said, the word current and seasons. And I'm like, oh, your weather contract is going to dynamically change with the seasons, right? Based on the current conditions. Yes. And it's so funny how you frame that whole response using the analogy still.
Because once you start to understand this, it's a whole ecosystem. It's literally like the ecosystem of how the jet stream drives the weather patterns, and the weather rains into the ocean, and the ocean then brings waves onto the land masses. So everything within our system is totally themed, and it's a real live ecosystem.
It's clear you guys put a lot of thought into this. Even just the analogy itself, like it is well, like you guys thought this through obviously for a long time just on those details. So that's a good sign to me, because this would be a kind of a hard, like, pop up quick fork kind of run with the bag type situation, ideally, right? Obviously this is DeFi, you guys, everything's super risky. As much as I like these guys, we've had I don't know how many hours of video conversation at this point. It's still DeFi, it's still super risky, even if they turn out to be very trustworthy over time managing this project. This is all new technology, experimental fintech stuff that we're all exploring, having fun with. So with that being said, be responsible. Use disposable income if you're going to play around in these games. I call them games, by the way, just for clarification. But with that all, with those disclaimers out of the way now, let's jump into this and figure out how it works. And real quick before we do that, do you guys have any special dates or big important news that you want to share with the audience before we dive into the weeds here?
Why, yes, we do. Our pre-sale will be going live on January 20th.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And we haven't nailed down the launch date, but we're looking at January 26th. So the pre-sale will actually run for 5 full days. It will not be capped.
Okay.
And the reason for that is the more we raise in the pre-sale, the better health we are starting out.
Gotcha. Okay. So have you done any private rounds or raises or anything like that yet?
Yes, we actually raised about 100 grand through a seed sale, which we had to do just to build everything, because the system we're about to talk about is already completed. It's already fully built. It is operational. You can check it out in our D app, which is currently live on testnet. So everything we're talking about, it currently works. It's not even a promise at this point. It's done.
That is different. I don't hear that unless they're like already running along, chugging along. But for pre-sale stuff, right. I rarely cover pre-sale stuff, by the way. But you guys already have your test DApp all built out. You've been recommended to me by a few people that I trust out here. So it's obvious you've put a lot of time and money into building this out. So I was like, yeah, let's talk about this. Get you on here, and you're going to be starting pre-sale on the 20th. It'll run for like a week or something, you said, and then
5 days, yeah.
5 days, and then you'll be doing a fair launch. Now, by fair launch, do you mean you're going to be selling without any buy taxes?
As far as the pre-sale, or are you talking about when we actually launch?
When you actually launch, or okay. is the pre-sale technically the fair launch?
So the pre-sale is being run like a fair launch would be on like Pink Sale. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but it's basically an uncapped pre-sale. As more money is raised, the price for everybody increases. So everybody gets in at the same price. But then when we actually launch, because everybody is staked at launch and we've got that 2-day lock period, our launch will look just like a fair launch would be. because no owned tokens can be sold at launch. So we won't see that pre-sale dump right away.
I see.
Which everyone dreads.
I'm gonna throw out a protocol term for the viewers who aren't ready for this. You'll learn about this soon. Are you utilizing the Ripple system that you've developed on the launch?
Yep. Everybody will be staked just before launch, so everyone will have to abide. Every token that's owned will be in that Ripple tax schedule.
Cool.
That 8-day schedule. So
I like that you're using the Ripple's system that you made for the launch. That's kind of cool. As an engineer, it always makes me happy to see developers, you know, eating their own dog food, as they call it, you know, using their own tools that they've made. So cool, man. Good
right.
for you guys on using that Ripple system. I think that's smart because a lot of people get concerned about, you know, people manipulating the project right off the bat, pump and dumping it, or like if you do have private round investors, then people are worried, like, what if they bought in 30% cheaper, 10% cheaper? Why wouldn't they just sell right off the bat? Do the private round people have a vesting period for those private round, like seed round tokens that they got?
It's no different than everybody else that's in any pre-sale. The reason is because as we dig into this, even if those private round people, they do unstake and sell, it's better overall for the protocol as well for every individual investor who's staked.
Because they'll be giving up that mass, and then it will actually be growing the position size of everybody else staked in the protocol, right?
That is correct. Plus, the way we're going to be doing our launch, we're not going to be using all the raised liquidity, which I know we can kind of get away with that because nobody can unstake at launch. So we're gonna have a lot of backup liquidity. So even if we set the floor at about launch price, I figured it out, we could let the price drop 50% below and recover the launch price 13 different times.
Dude, nice.
So that's a protection we've built in, you know, because everybody, you know, what happens after a launch, especially when the price dumps, then you've got everybody's like, yo, devs, can you do something? And so our answer is, well, yes, actually, we're prepared for that. We're expecting the launch to occur or the dump to occur at some point. So we're going to be prepared for it.
It actually helps you guys because you'll scoop up a ton of the tokens on the cheap for either the treasury or the ocean, or however, you know, you do that. If you use the, is it the weather system, I think, that does the buybacks? So
the weather is going to be using the revenue. In this case, we'll be utilizing that to actually and then add to liquidity in the future to actually stabilize the price, because eventually we are, you know, overall a reward system. So we want the price to become stable. But at launch, we want traders to come and make money because we're collecting 20% on the taxes, and they're not adding mass if they're not staking. So our liabilities aren't increasing. So that alone is beneficial for us overall as well, because we'll be able to build our jet stream, which is the revenue stream.
Yes. Yeah. And some of this, it's interesting as we're talking about this, and like, I am somewhat familiar with this stuff. I've watched all your videos so far. I've read through your white paper. I put some thought and took a bunch of notes and everything. It's fun to casually be having this conversation. So new people, maybe they'll start picking up on it before we start breaking down and defining stuff in like kind of a drier kind of fashion. It's kind of fun to talk about it like this, like we're some DeFi Degen buddies strategizing how this is all going to play out, right? So, you know, the jet stream is kind of like a trust fund where you're putting capital into investments that are then generating interest, quote unquote, or profits here, and you're just taking a portion of those profits and rolling them back in to the trust fund or the jet stream here, making it bigger so it snowballs and does more and more profit or interest. And then you're taking a portion of the profit or interest and you are diverting that to rewards and replenishing the ocean, which is your staking pool, your rewards, your reward pool for the staking protocol here. So a lot going on. And I know before I know I'm talking a lot here, but I want to kind of lay out the things that I see and how it relates to the wider DeFi space that a lot of my audience is in. You said you're 13 times backed by capital for what's going to be in the liquidity pool. So if there was a freak bank run type sell-off, you guys would actually benefit greatly because you'd be able to scoop up an even better position on the cheap 13 times over, and all the buy taxes and sell stuff would benefit the protocol and everybody who's sticking around in it. So that's very similar to MDB, who is another popular product out here that my audience is very familiar with, and they try to stay 5 times backed over their liquidity for the exact same reason, because it actually strengthens the protocol. If the worst case scenario happened, yeah, it's scary for some people who panic sell, but for the protocol itself, it just kind of hardens it and makes it have deeper liquidity overall, bigger investment vehicle to generate revenue, and then the people inside of it also get all those benefits if they stick around long enough to realize them. Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And another one of my community favorite projects has a similar strategy as well. Dex Finance. They do the same thing where they try to stay twice capitalized over the liquidity in case of a freak black swan bank run type situation. And so it's and those two protocols are ones that have survived a long time out here in the bear market compared to others that don't think about having such protections in place, insurances, if you will, and structuring things in a way that you can actually benefit from the worst case scenario,
which we're expecting. So that's what we're preparing for, is the worst case scenario. Even though in our system overall, it's not necessarily a bad thing because of the way the mass token works when people do leave. So
yeah,
there are a lot of stuff going on.
And I want to simplify something here. The main liquid token here is Fathom. So that's the token that you'll be buying and selling. This is what you're going to sell to take profits. And the mass token is not a liquid token. It's contract specific. It has a very specific utility in here as a position tracking token to make for those sustainable rewards and distribution that Bishop was mentioning. And so before everybody gets confused, because there are two tokens here, mainly they should be focusing on Fathom. If you want to participate, go find Fathom. Go, not financial advice. I'm just giving how it works. You could buy Fathom, you can stake it, you can unstake it, you can sell it, you can realize profits that way. But when you stake it, the receipt tokens, if you will, is called mass, and it tracks your position in a very different way than I've ever heard of before. And I think it's the biggest value proposition in the entire protocol that I've analyzed, that I've been able to pick out so far. So would one of you want to explain how the mass token works and why it's so special and unique?
Sure. I guess we could start with an example. It's a little bit easiest. So if you have 1,000 Fathom and you stake that 1,000 Fathom that was worth $100 at the time of staking, then you would get 100 mass. And mass is just a receipt token, like you said. It's just a dividend tracking token. It just goes, all staking protocols have this. So if you are to stake with any staking protocol, they would send you a token to show how many tokens you had actually staked. We're just changing that a little bit by changing it to the amount of value that you bring to the protocol. So the more value you bring, the more mass you will get.
Nice. And that's different than normal staking pools, because oftentimes those staking pools that are paying out in the token itself as rewards just dilutes themselves, and the value you might put in initially, if that token is inflating the circulating supply by paying out more and more rewards to people that are then going and selling those tokens to take profit, you're going to see in those protocols the price just going down, 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 down. And that's why single staking pools can be dangerous in DeFi protocols, and you've come up with a way to kind of combat that concept, or even kind of reverse engineer it and work backwards to come up with something that that isn't based solely on TVL and your amount of current value in the pool to determine your percentage ownership of the pool and the proportion of the rewards that are emitted that go to you specifically. Instead, like you said, it's the amount of value that you've added to the staking pool over the entire course of the thing, based on that point of time when you added the value to it. So if I put $1,000 into the staking pool, your staking pool system is smart enough to know, okay, you put $1,000 in here. All right, I don't care what happens to the Fathom price. You got $1,000 of tracked in mass in here. And if you put another $1,000 in next week, now you've got $2,000 dollars represented in mass here, right? And if 6 months goes by and say there's a dip in the Fathom price, that doesn't matter because the TVL won't be looking at the current value of Fathom staked. It'll be looking at, my percentage ownership and how many rewards I'm going to be getting. It's going to be based on the amount of mass I've accumulated. I'm accumulating mass right now. I'm dirty bulking. Anyway, no, so yeah, so it's cool that way because you're not penalizing people for buying and holding and staking and believing in the protocol, even if, supply and demand goes against the protocol. And it's sad when that happens because people put capital in hoping to get the rewards that are shown on these dashboards. Oh, X percentage per year. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down time to like take action, it's usually not the case that they saw on paper a few weeks ago. Did I explain that right, Bishop?
Yes, yeah, you got a good portion of it. There's still a few more parts I think we'll get into as we go, but
Okay.
like as how we reward the mass holders, but up till now, I think we're pretty good.
But there is one thing you said I want to touch on. You said those who believe in the project, right? Yeah. And that's really, those are normally the ones who wind up losing because they hold or hodl, right? Hold on for dear life all the way down as the price just drops, and the rewards drop as well. So the idea behind this is that if you put $1,000 in and the price, you get that 1,000 mass, but then the value of Fathom drops, let's just go 90% because that can happen.
Yeah.
So I would have to then put $1,000 in as well, even though I'm getting 10 times as many tokens to get the same rewards as you. And that's the real difference right there. Is otherwise any other protocol, I've just got to put $100 in and now we're getting the same rewards. Right. But in our case, that's not going to work that way. So it's really protecting those who do buy and stake and then the price drops.
And that was the idea behind it. It takes away the confusion and the abstraction of having an intermediary token between the user and the value token in the liquidity pool, like BNB or BUSD. These custom project tokens can obscure and abstract the true value through these liquidity games and these things that are confusing. So you're taking that into account and saying, if you put in this many dollars, we recognize that and we see that the whole time, and you get rewarded accordingly. Not just if you bought like luckily on a dip or so. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just how many dollars did you put in to this staking contract, and that determines how the mass token percentage ownership, or however you want to say that, in the staking pool gets distributed, right? Yeah,
exactly. And the idea was to try to reduce risk because I've bought and staked the top. If you've been here long enough, you've done it as well. And that's, but I truly believe that the ability to buy and stake the top and lose all of your rewards essentially can really inhibit a token or a project's growth. Because I've looked at many charts now and I'm like, I'm not buying in, that thing's gonna ready to drop. But then I've also missed out because I was wrong and they went up 10x. And so we're not really sure how this feature in here is going to affect what our chart actually looks like, because it does change the way people are going to look at it and the amount of risk, especially when the chart's been very green. So we could see some interesting things happen.
There's so many variables involved. It's a very multivariate system here with many different potential strategies. I don't even know honestly where to begin with that, other than ask you guys what, like right off the bat with what we just said with this kind of new staking protocol that nobody's really used like this yet that I know of. What do you think's the best strategy for somebody if they were to try to participate in this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess so. The one thing that's totally different than any other protocol out there is exactly what Sergey said. Staking the top. We actually staking the top in our system is the best thing that you can do. So if you buy low and stake high, you're the big winner. If you buy high and stake high, you're also a winner. It's as long as you're staking high, then you're pretty set in our system. And even if say you stake and you think that it's going to be high, and then 8 days later it just goes up 10x again, well then you can just unstake and restake, and that will recalculate your value again.
And you would just have to factor out the staking fee, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, so it's gonna capture the value before it takes the fee. So even if when you stake $1,000 worth, you'll get that 1,000 mass, but then you'll have $750 worth of tokens staked.
I see. Okay.
So we made sure of that.
It's interesting, that strategy where you said buy low, wait, and then stake high. That's definitely I understand that, and that's the funny thing is, depending on your timing, it could be the price could be anywhere on the chart, right? And if somebody bought down here and then they stake right here, they've staked at a higher value. They've multiplied the value of their potential staking position that they could have had. But if somebody else wanted to participate right at that exact same moment, if this person put in like $100 at 10x, now it's worth $1,000, and they stake it up here now, that would be the exact same position sizing. If somebody just came right at that exact moment, bought right then and there, and staked at that exact same time, they would both have the same position sizing. So you don't have to try to time it if you're trying to utilize the staking portion of this protocol, right?
Correct.
I hope I got
it's
that
also
right.
possible. It's also possible you buy and then the price drops, and by the time you stake, now you're getting less than you could have.
Right.
So that is a possibility
risk
as well. That's the risk, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to like speculate on prices, you don't have to. You could just buy and stake immediately, no matter where it's at. If the price is up one day or down the next, if you buy Fathom right then and there, and within like 5 minutes to an hour or whatever before any big price fluctuations happen, if you buy right then and there and stake it right then and there, you kind of bypass that whole potential risk scenario of you buy high, and then if the price drops and then you decide you want to stake, yeah, then you're potentially looking at staking a lower dollar value at that point in time. But if you do it right then and there, you buy, you stake at the exact same moment, takes all that speculative price action out of that decision. Did I get that right?
Yes, and to further decrease the risk of that price action, especially dropping, we have a buy and stake option available where you're actually going to buy it and it's going to immediately stake it, but it's capturing the full value of your investment, not after the 15% buy tax. So if you're buying $1,000 worth, you're going to get 1,000 mass, and then it's going to take out the buy tax plus the staking tax afterwards.
Okay.
So plus it makes it very easy for people who don't understand how to stake to just go to our go to our D app, put in the amount of BNB, hit buy and stake, and they're done. Now they're already staked and they'll start earning the rewards.
That's a nice feature to offer, because I am one of those diamond handers where I hold these things to 0 basically because I love the project or I like the people, but it's just, you know, bad tokenomics or inflationary models that, you know, you kind of learn through the school of hard knocks about, where then you get these mercenary liquidity farmers that come in, they pillage the rewards, and they're out, and they dump, and they're gone. They extract the value, and, you know, good on them for being such savvy sharks or whatever, but it kind of sucks for the people who, like, are having fun with the projects and want it to, like, succeed because the community and the team and the project and all that. And you guys have kind of built this thing to guard against that. So does this guard against people coming in here trying to be these mercenary liquidity farmers that come in and try to pillage the rewards?
You know, I'm gonna say no. We love those people. We want those people to come in and pillage and try to do their best. That's part of the space. It's just the difference is when they're doing that, we're taking a large percentage of their tax money and putting it towards the revenue stream, which is going to help the stakers.
Well, and can you give an example of what you mean? Because I think you might mean something else. But
yeah, I'm thinking traders, normal traders who are trying to pillage the.
Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about?
I'm talking about like whales coming in and taking a large position in the staking pool, taking a high amount of the rewards while the price of the token is high, getting the emissions, and then just nonstop dumping them. They're not compounding back into it. They're not buying and holding. They're just like getting the reward, dumping, getting the reward, dumping, and then at some point they say it's not worth me to risk my capital in here anymore to get these rewards, and then they're out. They take all the capital, and it's a good thing for actually the project because they want capital, they want liquidity, they want TVL and volume. So it's essentially a good thing, but these protocols aren't designed to be able to handle that level of influx of capital from one or two people versus everybody else. And then that one or two people can get an advantage over other people. And then, you know, community people get mad, but like, I think it's a good thing. Capital should flow to cool stuff, potentially. Anyway, so have you designed your system to be robust against that?
Yeah, because what's going to happen then, you know, so sure, they might actually pull out more liquidity than others can because they have such a large position. But once they unstake and leave, there's going to be a huge amount of reflections going to everybody else who's in there. So everyone else's rewards will increase decently enough after then. And so then it's pretty much built to withstand whales coming in and trying to do exactly that.
Now, would those whales still be able to benefit too? Like, would they be able to come out with at least like a, I'm not saying like a monstrous profit, like a 10x, or like, would they still be able to maybe make some money if they wanted to try that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's short term, they're going to need a lot of price action in order to do that, because, you know, by the time they buy in and stake, and it winds up being a total 36.25% tax. So, and then the 5% sales tax, you're talking about a total of like 40% taxes. So they're going to have to see a decent price increase from the time they got in to when they unstake and leave to make it worth their while.
Yeah, and now let's talk about the value proposition of everything we're talking about, because people might not understand that in this protocol you've designed mass to have essentially gravity that pulls in other mass to it, and as you're accumulating mass, just like a body in space, you attract more and more mass to you over time. So your position will start growing faster the more mass you have and the longer you're around. Now, if you decide to leave, your mass gets distributed as those reflections you mentioned. 25% of that mass that gets unstaked gets reflected. So it's like, imagine the asteroid breaking apart. 75% of it burns into flames and disappears. And the other 25%, these rocks go and accumulate against the moons and the Earths and the other asteroids and the stars, and they gain a little bit of mass every time that happens. Is that analogy that I just kind of made up there relevant?
Yes, I would say yes. It works in a kind of such a way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, as I've been studying this and taking notes, like I got the ocean analogy, but then I've got like this space analogy on top of it that like at some point with just the mass part of it, it works. Like, you know, even using the word mass is, I think, was a smart idea, because mass, and then it has that pull effect, that gravity literally has like a gravitational pull of more mass to it. And, you know, that's really a cool idea that benefits the long-term holders and believers and stakers rather than penalizing them in theory, right?
You know, it almost winds up being auto compounding of your reward token, of the dividend token, the tracking token, because it's going to just grow over time as other people leave, as other people sell out.
Yes.
And that's, so yeah, I guess auto compounding would be another way to look at it too. We're not auto compounding the rewards we give out. You can compound yourself to get more mass. But other than that, you know, it's what's calculating your rewards is going to grow on its own as others unstake.
Right.
And that is actually something I've not seen elsewhere, and I'm surprised, actually.
I haven't either. It's really a cool gamification, and I want to kind of reinforce that, like, that I try to find the value proposition and the risks. And it's my, to me, if I do a good job for myself and my audience, it's I try to find that value proposition and explain it in a way that most people could understand, and identify as many risks as possible and lay them all out in ways people can understand. And then they can come up with their risk reward ratio with their personal risk tolerance. And then if they want to, you know, gamble in DeFi projects or whatever, then they could do it with informed consent and make an informed decision rather than just kind of going in blind, right? And I kind of just want to help procure that that information in a way for people to understand before they just like YOLO into whatever and potentially get wrecked. So I think the biggest value proposition, you got a lot going on, right? But you guys invented something that, like you said, I haven't seen it anywhere either. This mass concept that attracts more mass to it in a staking protocol that kind of reverses the game. Instead of penalizing long-term holders, even though you're telling them they're going to make all this money staking, and sometimes you can, but it depends on like buy pressure and a whole bunch of other stuff. This kind of flips it on its head and says, well, actually, anybody who leaves, like, you get a bit of their position. It accumulates in your position. And over time, the longer and longer you stake, like literally, if this thing was successful over years and years and years, and some dude just diamond-handed and forgot about his position, and it just like, he's just slowly just like accumulating mass, like blah, 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 like all of a sudden, maybe he was like an asteroid, maybe at like 5 years he checks his position and he's a star, and he's got like, you know, half the mass in the galaxy at that point, right? Which brings me to a risk I identified. And so is this too, okay, here is along the question of the 25% reflections and 75% mass getting burned when somebody leaves the pool. So 75% of their mass is just boom, gone, burnt into space. 25% of it, though, gets reflected to all the other mass in the universe here in our staking pool. Now, did you pick that 75% burn, 25% reflect ratio to prevent stakers from accumulating mass too quickly and becoming overly powerful or overly weighted in the staking pool?
100%. Yes.
Well,
we chose that. Well, we did it. It's also because of the taxing situation too.
We're collecting 25% tax when that is staked. So that 25% actually represents real value in that mass, because that's what was collected to help the protocol. So now we're getting rid of the extra 75% that were created at the time of staking and leaving that 25% to go to everybody else. And that's the way I kind of looked at it. But yeah, we didn't.
It has the same effect.
Yeah.
We're trying not to allow people to build up too quick. And we also have the ability to change how much is reflected. So it's 25% now. It could be less. It could be more later, depending on what's needed.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. You and I like that you guys are very transparent about this in your documentation. You've left yourselves ownership and control of the contracts, which most people do, but most people don't advertise it because obviously, you know, centralization, blah blah blah. But it's all about know the team. Do you trust them or not to operate this like with integrity and all that stuff. So once they've made their own decision there, having control of this stuff and these experimental projects that could go any which way, it to me is a smart idea for you guys to be able to modify those parameters to adjust to market conditions, right?
Right.
Yeah, and we don't know if we got everything correct. So if we didn't, we'll be able to change it to make it work better, essentially.
Yeah, and these are all experiments at the end of the day. I don't care what anybody says. This is all super experimental stuff, and there's like so much potential out here, but also like you got to understand like not everybody knows everything right off the bat, and that's why you can't sometimes renounce ownership of a contract of your brilliant idea, because maybe you'll find out real quick it's not so brilliant because you forgot to add this one thing, or you set this parameter too high or this too low. So it's cool that you guys can adjust as you go, as needed. Like if, for instance, and this leads me to my next point. I got a whole bunch of notes of questions that I was like pontificating, just like, all right, what could happen here? So too much mass too fast generates so much gravity that pulls in ever increasing amounts of mass. Will whales or potentially diamond handers or potentially the whirlpool, which we'll explain here in a second, become an all-powerful black hole that one day consumes the entire ocean?
No.
Okay.
It won't ever consume the entire ocean. The whirlpool, it will be through a multi-sig, and if at any point we're like, all right, this is pulling too much in, we could literally go in there, unstake some of it or all of it, especially if the price is low, and reset. That actually gives everybody else reflections of the mass. But we don't know what could eventually happen, and maybe at some point we need to cut off, those reflections of mass because there are too many, and just let everything burn for a little while as people are leaving. But I've never considered like one thing taking everything of the ocean. Now, if we launch and we get a lot of trading after launch and everybody else leaves except for me, like
Right.
That would be great, because now I would get all the mass that's reflected. I'd get all the rewards from the ocean.
Yes.
If something like that occurred where so many people left, then that would potentially put some people with a much larger amount because of those reflections. And that is very possible. This is DeFi. That's normally what would happen.
And that's the goal, right? That's the goal, is to like win. Like you want to own the whole thing eventually, especially if it's a revenue generating machine. Right. And so a whale potentially could come in here and be like, here's $1 million. Boom, I own 90% of the TVL here. I own 90% of the mass. The majority of the mass is going to go to me, and everybody else, like, it's going to take them longer to build their positions to match where I'm at. And that, rewards them for putting their risk capital into your business here. So like those are duly, justified rewards that they, should get for risking their capital with your business. And if it succeeds, they should be rewarded justly, right? And so I guess my question, like, first off, was in terms of your responsibility and stewards of this project over time with the whirlpool. By the way, for those who don't know what the whirlpool is yet, that is a contract that, or a wallet, I should say, that is owned by the team that right off the bat gets 5% of the supply of Fathom staked into the staking pool. So, and it never drops below that 5%. So it creates like a price floor. It hardens, the token supply bit and the liquidity and stuff. But that 5% is the minimum. So the whirlpool will always have that 5%. So they'll be generating mass at a like a little over 2.5 times a whale level. About two, like they say, a whale, somebody who has like 2% of the token supply of any protocol. It's subjective. Anyway, so like I would say the whirlpool is like 2.5 whales essentially at minimum. But if you guys just like let it just diamond hand instead of spending the rewards for DevOps and other stuff, other rewards and things like that. Like you say, it could grow and grow and grow faster than everybody else, and maybe over a long enough amount of time, maybe 25% reflections of the gravity and the mass or whatever, makes this thing a monster. And that's why I said, at what point does it go from being a whale, which would in my mind be like a star in a solar system or something, or like a planet? At what point does it become a star? And at what point does that go supernova, collapse in upon itself because its gravity is so high that it becomes a black hole and destroys the entire galaxy? AKA, guys, we gotta stop and launch a new contract or something. Or like, is that, do you see anything like that, or would you just dial down those reflections if you see that coming from miles away?
We would just unstake the whirlpool. We could literally just unstake a portion of the whirlpool and bring that back down to whale status. So if it ever gets out of control, we can always just unstake and forfeit our own mass, which would reflect to a whole bunch of different people in the protocol. So we're looking forward to it as those are going to be really exciting days when we have to do that, because now we're giving a huge reward to everyone that's also in the protocol.
And yeah, okay.
But the other way to look at it, if it's gotten to that point, that and we're not using up the tokens for for rewards or contests or payments or whatever else, that essentially becomes a huge burn mechanism, which is what most of these protocols are trying to do. They're trying to burn all their tokens. Well, this becomes a massive way to essentially burn those tokens because they're collecting and they're not immediately going to be sold. And so it wouldn't destroy it. It would probably, though, as more interest comes, cause much faster price increases in our system, because those tokens now are not in the circulating supply anymore, as they're held in the whirlpool. And so I've seen this term. I think it's actually kind of silly, but it's like what the liquidity scarcity or token scarcity or whatever I've seen it before. I can't remember what it is exactly, but just me, or supply shock. That's what it was.
Supply shock. Yeah.
Which is supposedly supposed to cause price increases fast, which all that means is there's a lot of buying occurring and no selling, which causes the price to go up. But that's potentially, just our circulating supply gets less and less and less, is all that winds up meaning.
Yeah. So that circulating supply of Fathom itself, does the Fathom get burnt, or does it just get locked up?
We don't burn Fathom tokens. Okay. I actually don't believe in burning, because it actually requires so much to get burned. And when you actually look at it, if there's a certain supply that's already burned, by the time you get into the token, the price it's already priced in for those burn tokens, because they're held by the burn wallet. They just can't be sold. So it's only what burns after you're in that could affect your position, but it still takes so much burning to occur, because usually the liquidity pool only has between like 5 and 10% of the supply at that point. And a lot of times, even at 20% burned, the price can still go down to nothing. So I don't really care about burning. So ours is just constantly, we're recirculating our tokens between giving them out, they get sold off, we buy them back, put them back in the rewards pool to give them back out. And just as the jet stream grows and more revenue comes in, that's what's going to change the overall floor in the future.
Well said. So there's no inflation going on here. You guys are not minting more Fathom tokens, right?
Correct.
There's a fixed supply of Fathom, and you are recycling them. You're buying them back, and instead of sending them to the burn wallet, you are reusing them, in effect. And just over time, theoretically, especially as your jet stream investment vehicle business grows, then essentially each Fathom token should hold an actual value per token, and that value should increase per token over time. That the value that you're generating grows as well, right?
Yeah, at some point, what we're bringing in revenue will match what we're sending out from the ocean. The dollar, if we're generating $3,000 a day, we're sending out $3,000 worth of Fathom per day. Now we're kind of at a sustainable level. I would consider that. It could take a while to get there, It could take, months, years. We don't know. There's a lot more to just, how are they bringing in as much as they're giving out? Because it's with a tradable token, and we have hype mechanisms built in.
Right.
We'll see the
we'll
point
get we'll get to that.
Yeah. So yeah, we built this so it can survive for a very long time, where we're not even bringing in what we're giving out, just because of the way the whole system works. Yeah, I mean, we expect at some point, enough people will leave to where the number of mass, or that our goal of 1% daily compared to mass, that 1% equals the revenue we're bringing in.
Right.
And we may get to the point people might still leave. And if we're bringing in more revenue than we're sending out, now the price can really only do one thing and go up, because we're buying more than we're sending out. And that's the long term.
And the diamond handers are actually gaining essentially ownership in the protocol from time staked rather than capital injected. Both you can grow your position either way. You can buy in, or you can wait and diamond hand, and you'll actually gain more ownership that way, because as those other people leave the staking pool, and 25% or however much at that time of the mass tokens of theirs are reflected onto all the other mass holders, stakers, then your position grows. You didn't have to spend any more money. They left. You got more ownership. You're generating revenue at the same rate or growing still. So now you have a larger ownership, and you're receiving a larger amount of the profits from your Jetstream business model. That's those, Jetstream's all your revenue sources from all the different, validators and DeFi protocols that you invest in, and everything else you're doing to generate revenue. You're getting a larger and larger position just chilling there. And that's, I think, how those auto rebasing protocols, they try to tell people that's how they worked. Oh, you gain a larger ownership in the protocol the longer you wait. You just hold and you'll get more tokens. But they often didn't tell people, by the way, the token supply in the liquidity pool is inflating as well. So you've got your value no matter what's going down. Even like people don't even have to sell at that point. Like the tokens are just worth less and less. And then when people do sell, there's it's really worth less. But you're confused because you think you're gaining ownership, but the thing is inflating everyone. And then the diamond handers get screwed. I got screwed in a bunch of those projects because I was naive at that time. And this kind of is, I think, it sounds like an honest attempt to create a time staked to ownership protocol where you guys are actually rewarding ownership to people who diamond hand and stake longer. The something similar would be like Hex almost. So do you guys consider this kind of a mechanic similar to Hex protocol by Richard Hart, if you're familiar with that?
I'm actually not familiar with that.
Yeah, I don't know about Hex. Sorry.
Okay.
But I can give you an example. I can give you a quick example of what would happen in basically what you're touching on. And I've used this one before because it's true. So let's just say we start with 1 million mass, right? And so 1% daily, we're sending out $10,000 worth of Fathom every single day. That massive dump happens. People unstake like crazy. They sell out. They're all racing to be the first one, right? Panic selling occurs. At the end of it all, we're left with 500,000 mass, right? So half of the mass has gone burned, which means now at 1% daily, we're sending out $5,000 worth. So we're twice as sustainable essentially, but that's only 75% of the mass that was unstaked. So 166,000 mass were reflected in this example. So you, as somebody who stayed staked, you actually have gained 50% more mass. So your rewards have gone up by 50%. Our liability of what we're sending out has been cut in half. And that's real numbers that, I actually went through and just to figure that out. That's a possibility. I mean, that's kind of an extreme possibility And again, right, who knows what the token did? The token probably lost tons of value, but and because we can adjust things, even if that, say, that percentage went from 1% down to 0.25%, we just adjust the size of the waves going out back to 1%, and everybody who staked is set. They're still getting the rewards that they were getting before, actually 50% more at this point.
Right.
So
and that's that's a great example to show, like, even in a worst case, like an edge case scenario, where I'm glad you think about those things. Like, I'm a software engineer. I've written hundreds of unit tests and thought of all sorts of crazy edge cases for different algorithms or systems where what if the parameter or what if the variables at this level, right? Like, you have to account for that, and will that break the system, right? So you've accounted for some of these edge case scenarios, but it's good to strategize and make contingencies and strategize for worst case scenarios in any business. And I like that you've tested it against that, and then you've related how it affects a diamond hander. Your core value proposition is, if you diamond hand, if you hold, you're not theoretically, you're not going to get screwed over like in the past DeFi mechanics we've seen, but in fact, your position will grow. Even if the value of the token precipitously drops, your ownership of the mass has grown substantially. And then even if there's pump and dump action going on just from demand, supply and demand, I'm not saying anything like a pump and dump, anything like not like marketing crap or whatever, but like, I mean, like legit, like excitement, hype, where this happens to things like Dogecoin, it happens to, right? Like, you have a lot of money coming in and you're going to have a lot of money going out. And some people are like, oh, this is DeFi, that's all Ponzonomics, bruv. Not really, because that happens in any asset that gets attention. It could happen to gold, it could happen to houses, it could happen to stocks, right? So can you survive when that happens, though? Because some people think it's good, but at the end of the day, that much action coming in, that much action out can cause damage to reputations, to people's positions. People get scared, people get crazy. You guys are saying, no matter what, say like you guys get millions to flow in and people are taking profits like crazy and dumping, you got millions flowing out. If somebody's still staking in there and they see these crazy fluctuations of supply and demand and price action, that their ownership of this entire business model is just going to keep growing. This protocol is going to keep growing. And then your main value generator that actually generates like real world revenue externally through your validators and everything that you're investing in the jet stream, you're like your trust fund, you're like your business revenue generating business model aspect of this, that value is still going to keep snowballing based on how you've set it up. So it'll keep growing, even if it's slow at times or whatever it might, but it should theoretically maintain its capital value and potentially grow over time. And as a larger and larger owner of this business model and protocol, you're going to be getting more and more of those ever increasing rewards. So even though you're like, oh my God, if I sold at 30 days in, I could have made a 10x, but I didn't, and now I'm now I'm down 50% in my position, but I'm still staking because I don't want to take a loss. What if theoretically, if they held a couple years and this thing keeps producing real revenue, then the price swings don't matter and you don't have to speculate as much. You can literally diamond hand, and instead of going to like literal zero, you should be trending upwards consistently over time, even if there are giant swings deviating from the median, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly correct. You put it in very, very few words. I like it.
That's why I get
no,
paid.
That was good.
Yeah, that's why I get paid
That's
the
right.
$2, right? No, that's why I put so much time in my research on this, because it takes dozens of hours before you start thinking of that, right?
Oh, it does. Yeah, no, I like your analogies because you're looking at it from another perspective, and I can say that 10 different ways and somebody won't get it, but they hear what you just said and they're like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
So no, I appreciate that. That's actually really great. But yeah, and the whole thing was, how do you protect the diamond handers? And that's where this really came from. Because I was tired of buying and holding to zero because I've done it way too many times.
This
And,
guy,
you know,
I am the master of that. I'm so good
Yeah.
at it. I'm so good at it.
Yeah. And we're the ones that usually get hurt in these, unless we do what's considered bad and, you know, try to buy low, sell high, which is everybody's plan generally, but, you know, it doesn't always happen.
Right.
You always think it's going to go higher, and that's where you kind of get screwed.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah. So I like, man, what you said like it strikes a chord with me. I empathize with you because it triggers my PTSD basically, where I've essentially gotten slow rugged a number of times by very persuasive, fancy talking devs and things like that sound like wonderful people, but like in the end, like they've created something they know is devaluing with no hope of ever outpacing it, right? But they say whatever to keep you in, so they can keep extracting value from it until this thing like goes to complete zero, and then they disappear. And that's happened to me now multiple times, like 1 or 2 times. One time way worse than the others. That was when I skinned my teeth out here for the first time, and I came out here starry-eyed, and I'm like, I'm gonna make $1 million in a year. It lost $4,000 in about 3 months is what happened. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, like whoops. So the thing was, though, I was sold on the concept of gaining value by diamond handing, because I see Bitcoin. Oh, if I held Bitcoin, it's going up on average 100% year after year. So all crypto, you know, that's possible, right? But these DeFi schemes can be tricksy. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that you guys have taken an honest attempt to create just a theoretical model to try to actually make something that really rewards people who diamond hand, even if it might not be immediately apparent. If you buy and forget, kind of, there's the good possibility that even if this thing is like 10x one day and down 90% the next, and up and down over months or years, like you should have your value trending up and to the right, right?
Yeah, so mass can be looked at as the value of your stake. You know, so you actually have 2 different bags. You have the mass bag, and then you have your tokens that are going to be staked. And the value of those tokens are going to just continually go up and down, like you said, with the price changes. But the value of your mass will actually increase. The value of your stake increases over time as other people leave. So we've taken what's normally considered a horrible thing for a project and turned it into a positive. And, you know, like I said before, that was like an extreme example, but I've seen that happen before, where so many people leave and just the value plummets. And then if you weren't paying attention, you know, that can happen in a day. And now you're like, oh crap, my stuff's worth nothing now. But in our case, you're gonna be in a better position.
Yeah. And you said something that I think is important there, where your mass over time increases, and your mass, the value of your mass stays at whatever value you exchanged for that mass. Like your value stays there or goes up, because if you put in $1,000, mass is 1 for 1 for USD essentially. And if you put in $1,000, your mass position value is represented as that $1,000 plus whatever reflections it accrues from other people on staking and reflecting, you know, that 25% of their mass to everybody else. So you have that gravity effect where you have your mass, and like just sitting there just grows as the gravity accumulates more and more mass from all the other people leaving the staking pool. But then also, if you like, a lot of people like to DCA into stuff, right? So like if every, you know, month I put in $50, that means like by month 3 I have minimum $150 value position in the staking pool, plus whatever reflections have accumulated on those positions that whole time. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Actually, that's a great way to put it. At the end of every month, you will not have less value than you started with. which is usually what happens. Usually you have less value than you started with. Because the easiest thing to do in DeFi is lose money.
Absolutely. It's a really great way to do that. And as I've been saying for a whole year, like, guys, this is a legit a casino. This is super experimental. Like, these are slot machines that are fancy, they're flashy, they've got big numbers written all over them, and they make all these wild promises, but you don't know what's going on inside of that slot machine. You don't know who programmed it, most of the time. So, like, if you put a quarter in there, or a few dollars, you might, it's I think a good state of mind to write that off, as you might never get that back. And you have to be okay with that, so don't use the rent money or the grocery bill. Like, think of that like the $20 you save for Saturday night to go out to the casino with your friends to just like blow on the slot machines. You expect not to come home with it, but if you do get the right slot machine and you hit it at the right time, and it's not programmed inside as a scam, essentially, then you could win a jackpot. And you know, like some people do out here, and then they go around and say, "No, I made my millions in DeFi, this, that." But like that's rare, because most people are out here getting rugged and shit left or right. Excuse my language. Yeah. All you children watching, this is DeFi, kids. Be careful.
And generally, in order for you to win, somebody else has to lose. And that's another thing we're trying to get away from. Now, granted, everything is in DeFi, so sure, we're earning revenue elsewhere. So maybe somebody somewhere else is losing because of us, but inside our protocol, we're trying to make everybody win.
And that's a great point. Most DeFi protocols are zero-sum games. It's money in equals money out, essentially. And it's really great for, like, it's like a poker game where there are sharks out here in poker. There are people who can bluff, right? And they will take the money bet by the people who are bad at this or new, and they will they'll grow a big bag before they leave for the night, and everybody else is sitting there like, "Hey, oh man, I lost everything tonight," right? Most of these are poker games, and like, it's only the ones that have external revenue sources that can actually bring in money from the outside that's not coming from a buyer, like a participant like me, where you can actually generate real value externally to then provide as some type of reward for people lending you their capital, essentially. And
without new capital coming in some way, any protocol will die. And we're not going to be, you know, no matter how good our system actually works outside of the revenue stream, eventually hype's going to die. And we know that. And so our focus is building up our revenue stream as much as we can while hype exists. So once the hype does die, now we've got our own capital coming in already that we've been growing for a while. And it's capital that will never end either. It's not like we're collecting a tax and waiting to do buybacks. We're collecting a tax. We're going to grow that. And when we need it, we'll just be taking off from what is actually growing from it and not be affecting the base of it. So then it'll just, like you said, we'll be compounding at least 15% of it. And so it's just going to grow on its own.
All right, now I want to break down the jet stream. We've referred to this quite a few times, and it's an essential piece of this puzzle. And the jet stream is your investment strategy, recurring revenue, business arm of the protocol that will be theoretically generating ever-increasing value using external revenue sources to then pay out sustainable rewards over a long period of time to give ever-increasing value to long-term holders and stakers of the Fathom token. Is that right, you guys? And could you tell me how it works? You're muted right now.
Do you want me to go, Bishop, or you want to go?
Yeah, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, so the jet stream, it's literally, it's going to be the money we're collecting, and we're going to be putting it into places to earn revenue to generate it. So we are looking at several different validators on different layer 1 protocols, such as like Fathom, Fusion, Polkadot. But also, we know the importance that the more revenue we bring in, the higher level sustainability we will have. So we also have access to a trading bot that is proprietary. And so that's something we've acquired recently. But also, there are other protocols out there that do pretty well as far as giving a return, and we'll be looking at some of those as well. I'm not going to be specific on those though, but yeah, so a lot of it's going to be from Trading Bot, and the validators, they don't have the largest returns for sure, but they're definitely much more stable than even using a Trading Bot. And the best part about it is we're in this bear market at this point, so everything is like really, really cheap. And so getting into some of these validators such as Fathom, what you're showing here, once the bull market hits and the value of those do take back off to what they've been in the past, then, as opposed to say a 20% return, if it 10x's, now we're at essentially a 200% return of what we put in. And those are annual returns. So we're in a very, very good position to be acquiring these validators at this point because of the condition of the market.
I do like validators as a revenue source, especially with trusted blockchains that have a track record of existing for a while, because for a few reasons. First, the capital that you stake in these proof of stake validators, you still technically own those tokens. So, you buy those tokens in the bear market like we are now, you stake the correct amount to become a validator for one of these blockchains, and yes, you get, like, say, that 25% APR. Well, in the grand scheme of things, that's fantastic, traditionally, but then also your capital is still yours. You're not locking it up to get that. In some cases you do lock it up, but like you're not like, it's not gone forever. It's still yours. You still own it. And if the bull market comes and it appreciates in value, like you said, you could go, maybe doubles in price, and you're up 200% on that position on top of that APR that you're getting. Now, that's a cool concept and a cool way to do it, I think, because if I'm gaining mass, not from lifting weights, but from sitting in your staking pool, then I am slowly accumulating an ownership position in this entire protocol that is like owning a portion of these validators and sharing in their rewards. So if the price of Fathom doubles, essentially the value of my position in mass, and thus if I sold in Fathom at whatever point in time, would also reflect the value increase from your investments in the jet stream. Is that right?
Yes. And the revenue we're bringing in, we're going to use to buy back our own token to refill the rewards pool. We had originally actually considered to do either give it out in, if we're earning Fathom, to give it out in Fathom, or even just go to like BUSD or BNB while we're on the Binance Smart Chain. But what we kind of came to was we're collecting this money by selling our own Fathom token. So instead of just collecting, hurting our chart and never helping it again, we're just going to take that revenue and then put it right back into the chart. Give that buy pressure for, especially when we need it. Because let's face it, most of the time, these projects, when they get to the point when they need revenue, they're actually trying to build revenue. And so we're going to be building this revenue stream this entire time. So when we do get to that point where most of these projects kind of just die because the hype is gone and everybody's just selling out to protect what they have left, we will have hopefully this huge revenue stream built up already, and just up the amount that we're putting in for the buybacks to refill the rewards pool. So when others are dying, we're going to be hitting a level of sustainability. And then from there, there's really only one direction to go, and that's up.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense to use the value generated from these to buy back your token, so that way you can keep sustaining the rewards. And in return, when you buy the token, it makes the price go up a little bit, and it adds to the liquidity pool, makes the price go up a little bit, and then when people sell to take their profits in Fathom, you know, the price will go down. You're going to be balancing that out with this value. At some point, you know, like I said, it'll be going up and down, up and down, up and down as this thing is slowly trending up and to the right. Now, that's assuming your investments here pan out, right? This is still crypto, and it's still, at the end of the day, like financial stuff, and there's always a risk with any investment of any kind in crypto. You know, Fathom, like, I don't know how Fathom's going to do over time, or I don't know how Ethereum's going to do over time. I don't know how Avalanche is going to do, blah, blah, blah. I think, you know, personally, I've got my own opinions and everything. I think they're going to go up next bull market, all of the ones I just mentioned. But there's always a risk that something could go wrong with a specific chain or something like that, or trends change and things like that. So I want everybody to keep that in mind. You know, validators are probably some of the best ways for like generating value and utility while still maintaining somewhat low risk profile in terms of DeFi and crypto. But still, it's DeFi and crypto, so any, you know, things change fast out here. But I think over the course of a couple years, these probably, in my opinion, not financial advice. I have no idea. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think validators are probably like the soundest things I've heard of. Now, I want to, speaking of all that, I want to kind of focus in on your trading bots. Trading bots freak me out, man. So full honesty, like there are a lot of these projects that have launched recently, and they're like 1 or 2% per day from our magic trading bots. You know, we'll show you back data that they could have just whipped up. And of course, like, you know, they don't show their faces and everything. So I gotta like ask, like, are you guys doing one of those things? Or like, what are your trading bots? Can you kind of convince me of their legitimacy?
It's an actual trading bot that will be run on a exchange. So it's not like going through these protocols that may or may not even have trading bots that they're using. Unfortunately, some of the recent ones have been just big scams.
Yeah. No,
so we'll actually be using actual trading bot with the funds that we collect to then, you know, increase the value of what we have essentially. And when we got a hold of it, it's been tested, field tested a lot, and it's done very well in the past. So we're actually very excited, and that's going to be also to not necessarily the main form of revenue, but it's going to help increase the overall APY of what we're bringing in with the validators and such.
Right, because that like usually, you know, those would have higher expected returns, but potentially higher risk profile because, you know, even trading bots like could have bad years, right? So, and you never know, like with the strategies. So you're saying you've got a trading bot that's trading on a central exchange. So I'm guessing you're using like an API, something that a bot that interfaces with, like, I don't know, like Binance's API or something, or wherever you're doing it.
Yeah.
And it has a trading strategy. And you said it has a track record. How's that track record again?
So very good. It's worked with other protocols, and it's went from $500,000 to $7 million for their treasury.
Dang.
And then, yeah. And then we've taken that and we've made more adjustments on our own end. So we'll have even better control. It's a lot of the problem with these other protocols is they're promising the 1% on the trading bots, and if the trading bots don't make that, then the whole thing implodes. With us, we're not making any of those types of promises. This is just another revenue stream that we have, and you know, we'll take what we can get from it.
Okay.
Plus, you know, when people do sell out, they're not going to be taking from our funds that are in the trading bot, like I've seen other ones be subject to, because they're going to be selling out of a liquidity pool. And so that separates, you know, the buying and selling from what we're earning revenue with. We won't ever have to touch that. Once it becomes revenue that we're earning with, it stays there. And we'll only allow it to grow with compounding.
I see. If the bot goes totally crazy and liquidates everything off of one bad trade, say that happens, then if that would happen with us, then we'd still have our liquidity. With other protocols, if the bot lost everything, then everyone is shit out of luck.
Yeah, and then again, it's not our only source of revenue either. So it did happen, then we'll still have revenue coming in elsewhere.
Right. So what's your like risk diversity portfolio spread? How are you, do you guys have like portions out for like this percent going to validators, this percent going to trading bots, this percent going to DeFi protocols that you guys believe in?
We have a rough estimate of what everything's going to be. It's, you know, but since we're just now getting this trading bot, it's kind of changing everything up for us and the way we're looking at it. It largely depends on how that bot performs here in the first few weeks and months as we continue down that line. But majority of it is going to be in the validator nodes because, like you said, that is the most controlled and safe way to make a return in DeFi currently.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a more secure place to stash some capital rather than in open positions on a central exchange from a trading bot. So yeah, good to spread that out, right? And then you guys have the majority of the value of the protocol in the actual ocean and elsewhere, like the liquidity. So that's an interesting strategy. So like these projects that are just solely trading bot based, if that, like you said, if there's a black swan event and that thing gets wrecked, right? Like boom, everybody's screwed. Potentially, depending on their drawdown, position sizing per trade and all that. So, all right, good to know. Can you share the name of that bot, by the way, or what company it's with?
No, currently we can't. It's just from our network connections. So I don't think there's really a name to it, really. But I can't give away our different network connections. That's not really relevant to that. It's just people that we've met in DeFi over the course of this project being built. So it's really come out strong.
Okay. And interesting. Do you know what kind of strategies they're using? Are they trading like options, perpetuals, futures, or are they trading just straight like arbitrage or skimming or like just traditional TA and then or like what do you know what kind of strategy they trade with?
No, we're bringing you the information first. We literally just got a hold of this bot and we're not even in full acquisition of it yet. We know the deal is good and it's going to go through, and we know the testing for the past runs of everything, but currently I'm unable to answer those questions.
Okay. Are you going to paper trade it for a period of time or trade it with some of your own capital as a test to see how it performs not only against back-tested data, but real-world data as it comes to fruition?
Yes, we'll be starting this with a much smaller amount of money here, hopefully before launch, and then I'll have a lot more of these answers coming in.
Okay.
So we'll be trading before launch, hopefully, and get it up and running and tested and make sure everything's running smoothly before we ever put a whole bunch of capital into anything.
I appreciate your bluntness and straightforward answer. I'm glad that you said, oh, well, we're still figuring that out before we do anything like that, rather than trying to, you know, make some BS answer that you think I would like to hear. I'm glad that you were just like, here's a situation and how we're evaluating it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. It's changing drastically every day. So we're just going with the flow and keeping things moving forward.
Cool. Sergey, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, one of the best ways to lose your money is to throw a bunch of money into a trading bot and see what happens. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be testing with small amounts first and get it tweaked to where it's working well before we increase the amounts and stuff. So yeah, we're not nothing that we have done has been reckless out of this whole thing, and we're definitely not going to start when it comes to investing the funds. That becomes our backbone and our future sustainability.
Right. And then yeah, no, absolutely. You know, you're stewarding everybody's capital in this thing and essentially becoming like it's almost like a hedge fund, but it's not, because you're like, these are like businesses, like not only businesses but like DeFi tech, like the validators. That's not like managing like a portfolio. That's like a thing that's like, you buy this machine, you turn it on, and you know, boom, it's printing tokens. It's like a mix. It's a business. It's a revenue source. But then you've got the things like the trading bot, so it kind of is a blend. And the DeFi protocols as well. And you said you're not willing to share which DeFi protocols exactly yet?
Correct. I was told by the person that we're in network connections with right now to not share that information.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick to that and keep that one to the chest.
And that's okay. It's okay to have proprietary information, especially when it comes to business strategy. I want to reiterate that point. I say that like I do. It might sound weird, me just like saying that statement, but I say that as an educational thing for newer people out here, especially younger folks getting into the space. And I think, oh, crypto is like, everything is community and, you know, communism, basically, full transparency, everything. But like, that is not how the business world works. And it actually can be dangerous at times, depending on the situation. So business strategy, sometimes you got to protect it. I get it. And you just hope that, you know, you trust the business owners at the end of the day to operate in your best interests. So, yeah.
Right. And I just don't want to say anything false right now either. So there's lots of areas and pitfalls where I could say something false and the next AMA I'm saying something different. I'd rather just refrain from saying anything now and say it on the next one.
I appreciate you being able to say, I can't say this now, and I don't, you know, or saying like, I don't know the exact answer to that yet, but I will get back with that. That's a totally acceptable answer, and I prefer it over BS. You know what I'm saying? So one other thing about the DeFi protocols, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, I have a question in here I wanted to ask. Do you have any strategic partnerships anywhere else in this thing that you are willing to speak on?
We can speak on our True Speakers partnership, correct? We spoke about that. So we have a partnership with them. We'll be launching on their DEX Command Swap, and they are helping us as marketing consultants as we move through this, and also running our KYC as well. So they've been a great partner and help to us so far, and things have been going really strongly since they've come on board.
They're also performing our second audit of all of our smart contracts.
Yes, which we just heard back about that, and it sounds like it is really our code is very tight and very clean right now.
Nice.
So, yeah, so it's always good hearing feedback back from that.
Yes.
Awesome. And True Seekers, you know, Dow King is one of my good friends out here. I've known him for a long time, and I talk with him personally behind the scenes about all sorts of stuff. He's the one who, you know, told me about you guys and asked me if I could do this video as part of kind of helping people understand some very new mechanics, right? And that's kind of something that I specialize in, is breaking stuff down in a bunch of different ways until it clicks for people. And then also portraying the risks as good as possible. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, some of the questions I ask, I'm going to ask them. I can't stop myself. So with that being said, I'm now on to the risk segment of my interview. Are you guys ready for this?
Yes, let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So, first off, have you guys ever worked on the teams of any other projects before in DeFi?
We were moderators, but that wasn't actually working with the developers or anything. So no. Okay. We were not.
Good to know. I've also been a moderator in a project, and they slow rugged my ass. So I had a bad experience with that. Like, and man. Anyway, long story. I'll save that for another day. I'll tell you guys that one over a nice cup of coffee or something. So, who else is on the core team, and from what countries is everybody from?
So we actually have a third on our core team. It's Sergey, I, and another that we call Defiant. He's a lawyer, and all three of us are located in the USA.
Nice. Good. And that makes it easier for True Seeker's job, KYCing you guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It certainly does.
All right. So good to know. So it's you guys, and then it's
a lawyer.
Your lawyer, and then Defiant, right?
Defiant is the lawyer.
Oh, okay, that's right. And then you guys also have a development company, is that right?
Yeah, so as we're speaking about partnerships, I guess I should bring up our development team. They've been with us now since how long, Sergey, did they come on board? Like
July.
April? July?
We had one team first, but then they developed smart contracts. But then we had some kind of a falling out, and then we got hooked up with the guys we have now, and they've been absolutely amazing, actually.
Nice.
But yeah, that was right around July, and they built out the D app and modified all the smart contracts so everything worked properly.
And if you would like to share the name of that company, it might explain your avatars here a little bit.
So they are called Perfectus.
Oh, I was thinking isn't the Knights of something?
DeFi Knights is us
that's
three.
us. We are the
DeFi Knights.
Okay. So the development company though is called Perfectus.
Yeah, we actually got a hold of them because we went through another company but they would have signed an NDA and they sent us to Perfectus because the other company, I don't know, should we say their name or probably not?
Yeah, let's just move on.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
They're pretty prominent in the DeFi space though, for building stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No proprietary knowledge.
They were referred to us, is what happened essentially.
I see. Okay. And yeah, that if it's not relevant, then and it's not a risk to any of the participants, I don't really care. You know, I'm networking all day out here. I talk to so many people, and I know how it is.
Right.
You gotta find what you gotta find the people that fit for you, that you feel comfortable with, and have a good experience working with. So glad you guys found Perfectus. It seems like it sounds like things are going well from what you told me behind the scenes. And I just want to make sure I don't say the name of anything because I took some notes here the other day. But they built your, what is it, 6 contracts, smart contracts?
Right. Yep. So we have 6 smart contracts and the API.
Okay, and your API, I'm assuming is hosted with like a cloud computing company of some sort, maybe AWS or.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is on that. Yeah, and the API, all that actually does is with our Shilling School, the work tokens, which are track how much reward you're supposed to get from that, they actually burn after 7 days. And so they created this API to call that function and burn them after 7 days. I think that's the only function it actually has.
So you're actually going to be saving an expense from what, I mean, obviously you got the hosting fees there, the initial development costs, but a lot of other projects hire specialized companies to do scheduled tasks on the blockchain because you can't initiate a scheduled task from a smart contract, unfortunately, yet. However, they hire like Gelato or other scheduled task companies that manage that for you securely. But if you've got an in-house development team, you can oftentimes build a much cheaper solution with, an API like you guys said you built. All right, good to know. Speaking of which, let's see. Why are you guys hiding behind Knight's armor?
Yeah. We've been around the space and we've seen some crazy thing happen. We've watched as some developers were accused of a lot of things that were not true. Just, you could easily see that there was no evidence behind it, but there are some people in this space that are kind of nuts. And I've got a family, and I don't at this point want to get targeted especially over something that's not true. And we know that it's especially around launch time and for the first few weeks is when most of the stuff happens. It's when emotions can run hot. And so at some point we will be doxing. But we are also doing the KYC initially before we even open up the presale through Truth Seekers. So we're doing everything we can to be as safe as possible and to build that trust now. It's just, there's some, I'm sure you've seen it too. Right. It's like the price drops and they're like, they're running. It's like, no, actually, it's just people selling out. Oh, they're scammers. I want to go find them and kill them. Or God forbid, there's an error in the code and there's an exploit that happens. Mm-hmm. Then people are out to get those who they feel are responsible. And, this is with Truth Seekers, it's already our second audit. So we're praying there's nothing wrong in there, but, it's still being audited by people. And as much experience as they have, somebody else could come along and find something they missed. And, it's just a little bit of protection for ourselves. But again, we're still trying to do everything we can to provide that safety and that trust.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to add to it real quick that they're just freaking awesome. We just have really cool characters. And even after we dox, we're still going to be using these characters, because I could be here right now, like, picking my nose and no one even knows. So
yeah, it looks like this is what picking nose. No.
yeah. See.
Okay, I do drink a lot. That's what this is.
Yeah, you just been over there, just like the flailing arms,
drinking water.
Car salesman parking lot thing. Looks like half the time.
Plus, we can do the YaBonks thing, right?
The YaBonks show. Oh my god!
Yeah,
I can't believe that turned into a thing. I just like doing jazz hands, and now people are like, oh, the YaBonks show. So anyway, so all right, yeah, no, I understand. People are crazy out here, and especially like somebody will lose $20 and threaten to kill everybody you've ever met, like they're Kaiser Sose or something. And I get it. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel, my earlier videos. It's called "I Got My First Death Threat as a YouTuber," and I'm like on the thumbnail, and I shared the screenshot of what they said to me. It was crazy as hell, and I was just a moderator at that time in that project, and talking about it on YouTube. I was learning the ropes. I knew nothing about YouTube or being an influencer or like really DeFi. I thought I knew because I was a software engineer, but like you don't know. I could read code, sure, but like I don't know the social aspects of this. I don't know how scammy some people could be. I don't know how crazy some people can be until like something happens and like your best friend all of a sudden, who you thought was your best friend in DeFi, is saying, I'm gonna kill your ass, blah blah blah. So I get it, especially if you have a family. Like I got a animal sanctuary, and I'm like screwed. I'm all in. Like at this point, I'm super doxxed out here, and it's like I gotta just like I took that jumping off point, and there's like no turning back now. So it's like, once you do it, you do it. But it is scary for sure. And that's even if you're running it with integrity. But some people are so paranoid from getting rugged and screwed over that they assume everybody's out to hurt them, and they misinterpret things. They get paranoid, and also there are slanderous people out here that make stuff up for attention, for their own gain, on social media. So, yeah, treacherous space we operate in. I've been lucky that I've ended up with a fantastic community, though. My community's super smart. They understand these factors, and they're just very nice, generous people. So, please be good to them. If any of them participate in your projects, be a good steward of their capital, and don't rug that shit or anything. I know you guys already gave me your word on all that, and we've video chatted privately for probably like 10 hours at this point, almost, between our multiple calls. At least
you are very high maintenance.
I am.
It's been fun though. You're a blast to talk to, though. I will say that.
Thanks. You guys too. You're very interesting guys. Like I said, I didn't know Bishop here 15, 20 years ago. We were running against each other on the track. Like, small world, man.
Yep.
I've enjoyed talking with you guys too. So like my experience getting to know you guys is very different from the audience watching this, because I know what you look like. I know your names. Like we go back, Bishop, and like from like, and then we just like found each other again. It's like, that's super random. But to the audience, you guys are 3D knights sitting here talking about DeFi, and that's a lot of my audience be like, oh, that's a red flag, right? Definitely take all that under advisement, make your own judgments on like whatever you end up doing. But just wanted to share all that information so everybody knows where I'm coming from talking with you guys. And yeah, I'm super high maintenance.
Yeah, and actually brought that up. Like if you're not comfortable putting money into this because we are 3D Knights, then don't. We're not saying you must put money in here. We're just trying to get the word out of the system that we've built, and it's actually fully operational at this point. You can see it. You can check it out in testnet. If you go to our website, fathom.finance, and open the D app, connect to testnet with MetaMask, and get some BNB from the faucet. You can actually buy, you can sell, you can stake, you can do whatever you want with it and see how the system works.
Right, and I've got that right
there.
Here.
It is.
It's super easy. You just connect on.
Hey, do you have testnet set up through MetaMask?
Yeah.
The RPC?
I think so. I think I've set it up in the past for other stuff I've worked on.
Okay, go to buy Fathom on the bottom left.
Okay.
All right, you gotta go to the faucet. Let's go get you some BNB really quick because this will only take a minute. Do you know how to get the BNB faucet?
No,
I don't know.
I usually don't have that bookmarked. No. Do you want to share?
Testnet.bnbchain.org/faucet-smart. It's very simple, very short.
Yeah, it's going to take no time at all.
No, of course not. Sorry.
That's not that.
Supposed to be prepared.
What? Hey, let's do. Do you have your screen? Do you have your screen open?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, let's just show yours. I don't want
to. I will just.
I don't want to get into a full demo here, but like the testnet setup here is one of the best I've seen. Honestly, not many projects do this, right? They say, "Oh yeah, we've tested our smart contracts on testnet. Don't worry." But I'm like, have you though? Have you really? I don't believe you sometimes. But you guys have a full DApp. Like, this is the most intricate testnet build out I've seen reporting on this stuff that anybody's willing to show me for an AMA. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I've honestly been testing. We've had probably 15 different launches on testnet at this point, so I've been testing this very, very deeply since September. Every time I need a change, they relaunch it, and I go back in and make sure every function is working properly. But yeah, so this is. Well, so we've made it very easy also to buy in and to buy in stake in case you're somebody who might get confused and not know how to purchase it and then actually go and stake. But and this is not a DEX. This will run through command swap. So I'm just gonna actually just run a buy here. But yeah, we'll go through this really quick actually. And so we'll go back to the whole point of mass, right? So I put in, it was like 990 mass initially, and I've actually received 214 reflections. So at this point, I'm getting 20% more rewards than I started with just because of those mass reflections. Yeah. And this is literally me with like 10 different wallets occasionally coming in, buying, staking, unstaking, just to make sure everything's working right. But right now, my tokens are worth a lot more. They're almost $4,000 than the current mass I have if I wanted to. I can come to our stable stake here, unstake everything, and then restake it all and recalculate my mass based on the current value. And so that's, something that you don't get to see anywhere else, for one thing. So you're saying if the price goes up a ton, and you want to kind of capitalize on that value, you can unstake everything. You can take the fee, like there's gonna be a fee there that you get hit with, but then you restake at the higher value. Your Fathom tokens you get back. You restake those, and then you can. That's
where the fee comes in.
That's where
when you restake, that's where you're getting the fee. Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to readjust your position because you see, oh man, the value's way up, and then you calculate, you factor in that staking fee in this strategy. And you unstake, and then you restake it at the higher value. And if that higher value justifies that restaking fee, essentially, then it's worth it. Am I right?
Yeah, and actually, I'll just go ahead and demo this. Now, keep in mind, the values this is pulling from testnet are not correct. It's going to wind up calculating less mass than it shows here. So this is higher than it should be. And this is calculating less than it should be based on actually pulling the stuff out of the liquidity pool. But I did just do a pretty big buy elsewhere. Let me get this to reset because the price should have gone up a lot. There we go, $5,000 worth now. So I'm probably getting like 4,000 mass or less. But let's go ahead and do this really quick. Go to stable stake. We're going to unstake everything. It's going to be already set to the maximum amount. And yeah, testnet is super fast, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
sarcasm.
Not.
That was sarcasm, people.
Very sarcastic. Yes, it is not. Sorry. So unstaking occurred. Yeah, I hate testnet. Unstaking was supposed to occur. Oh, don't tell me you're going to fail on me. All right, this is not going as I planned. Oh wait, no, still not. Yeah, of course. This is what always happens. I try to do a demo, it never works. But yeah, so we can unstake it, restake it. Now we're gonna have a new amount of mass. I'll give it one more shot. It might actually work. I don't know. This is crazy sometimes, unfortunately. But yeah, and that's how the system works, and that's the really neat part, and that's what I'm super excited to see how it's really taken by the community and the rest of DeFi. Yeah, it's not going to give it to me, I don't think. Maybe I can refresh, but yeah, I wish this would work. Sometimes, oh, did it go through? Oh no, it switched wallets on me. You see, you gotta love testnet. Oh no, it didn't. Let me show you this one still. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, it worked. All right, cool. Let's go back to stable stake. Go back to stake. We're going to go to the max amount. So that said like, what, $6,000, because I had some other stuff in my wallet already. So let's go ahead and restake this 51.9 million. Seriously? Isn't this awesome? This is the only time it messes up is when I try to demo. Like in 30 minutes, I'll be able to do it over and over again. Zero issues, because that's exactly what happened last time I tried to demo it. Failed during it. I think that was actually with Murdoc. It's like later on. All right, so forget that. Testnet is jacking up. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes. Yeah. But like we said before, there's 6 different contracts. And so this is a transaction from earlier. Where I just did a small buy just to make sure everything went through. And so this is like the ocean sending out the rewards. Our Shilling School, we have it, so it's going to auto compound for a couple weeks until we actually go live with that reward system through the payment for the shillers. And so that's actually what's happening right here, and it's creating more mass for that payment system. So that's that's going to be increasing on its own even without buy volume for the first couple of weeks. And so everything we're doing is all about long-term growth in our system. We don't just collect and then give out. We collect, we grow it, and then we give it out in some way. But yeah, you got the taxes coming out from the little buy, the 50,000 token buy here. This is actually the 1% of that got sent to the Shilling School, created another 0.4 mass. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that are occurring on this. I think this is actually the 15% tax, and then the actual tokens that were sent to the wallet here. But the cool thing, so the mass, this is the staking contract. Just by coming to here, we can see the total supply at this point is 18,583 mass. So that's the amount of value that was staked at some point. Nice. And that's actually less because there have been some that were burned as well. Which you can see an unstake. Well, my unstake occurred. Yeah, 905 mass went to the burn wallet or to the dead wallet, and so that meant another 300 mass were actually reflected to everybody else.
Right.
But yeah, it's fun, and please, if you're watching this, go and try this yourself. See it work, play around with it, and just watch how it's working. Get to know it, and this way you have a better understanding. Oh, it's working. You have a better understanding of what this whole system is and what we've built. And keep in mind, this is done. This isn't like a promise. We're not saying we're going to build all this. We've built it. We've spent the time. It's been well over a year and working on all this.
And this is done and audited and everything, right?
Yep. Yeah, the first audit had some corrections. It wasn't much. And now what we've heard from our second audit is this is very, very solid. There was like one question on one of the functions, but when we explained what it was, they're like, all right, cool, that makes sense. Stake, let's go, stake.
So you passed all the technical aspects of the audit, all the security, potential exploits. You've passed those, but they just had a question about some of the business logic on one part of it. And they accepted your answer for explaining it?
Yeah, well, it was one of the technical portions, and he's like, you probably built it this way for a reason, which we had. So yeah, here we go. Like I said, for some reason, this gives it such a much lower value wherever this is calculating it. But yeah, So I unstaked, restaked. We had 1,200 mass. Now I've got 3,500. So now my rewards are forever based on this. So at 1% daily, I'll be getting $35 worth of treasure as opposed to the $12 I was getting before. And that's just by unstaking and restaking.
Wow. So that
and
that's
forever locked in.
That encourages people to, you know, maybe instead of setting it and forgetting it and coming back in a year or two or like 6 months, to like keep an eye on it for those opportunities potentially if the price goes up past whatever, you know, threshold there is to make it worth it to restake, to you know, reposition yourself at the higher value. That it, you know, so like stay active in the community, I guess, and watch out because everybody will be probably talking about it in the Discord when those opportunities arise, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, here's a wallet I did. Looks like on January 4th, so 9 days ago, and I did a buy and stake. I received 60 reflections, so from 400 to, you know, so gosh, what is that? 15 or 1.5% or 15% more? I don't know. My brain's getting fried now. But yeah, so I've got $188 built up with 466 mass after 9 days. Yeah, so that's just how this thing works. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun to play around with it, and I love it when I come through here and I open up the Fathom token contract here, and I see that other transactions have occurred. I'm like, yay! People are trying it. It's not just me.
Yeah, and
please, check it out.
Not many pre-sale projects share any testnet stuff like this, so this is kind of a cool thing. I mean, I've been out here reporting on projects publicly for 9 or 10 months. No, 10 months now, almost 11. And you're the first person who's like, check out our testnet setup. Go play around with it. Go try to break it. You know, and so I think that's cool. I appreciate that as a software engineer. That level
now,
of transparency.
if you're looking to copy us, good luck because everything is behind a proxy. Because I'm sorry, but we've spent a lot of money and time on this. We're not just letting everybody come in and copy our code. So all the tech is actually going to be hidden. But again, it's going to have been audited and everything. The Fathom token will be verified though. That you can see the code on for the token contract itself.
Okay. All right, good to know.
But as far as all the tech is concerned, I'm sorry, we're not giving that away.
Awesome.
Part of our plan our future plan is to allow others to use this. So, but we'll have to, you know, pull a tax off that or something.
Yeah. And
hi, Daddy.
I know. Kids.
And that actually comes to some of my last questions about risks and security and everything like that. So I just want to start out by saying it's okay to have proprietary software. I'm a software engineer, and I've written proprietary software basically my entire career because that's what pays. And that's how these, you know, software businesses make money, essentially. Now, DeFi is a little different because you can fork somebody's open source code and immediately start earning like taxes on a token or like, you know, tokenomics and all this stuff, and earn money in weird ways rather than just selling your software or service. But so I understand if you're behind a proxy, it's good. I'm glad you're so forthcoming with that. A lot of people, you know, would not share that because they don't want to like freak people out.
Right.
But at the same time, like, you know, if you guys have this really proprietary stuff that nobody's doing yet, and you have very custom contracts that are also audited by multiple companies, then that's a valuable thing you've got in terms of you know, business information capital. So I understand
exactly.
you're wanting to protect it.
It's also upgradable. So if we do find something that needs to be changed, we can have it changed without having to go through a full relaunch.
Yes, and that's
because
good
that
thing.
Would be miserable.
Yeah, that's a good thing because I've seen projects dead in the water because they wanted to be all like, oh, well, this is DeFi. We need to be trustless and open source and fully transparent and renounce ownership of the contracts. But then something goes wrong like week 1 and they're like, oh, we got to fix that, but we can't. And the project's dead. Sorry. Like, man, that's a very real thing.
Or they go through or they go through a migration, and what happens in the migration? Everybody sends their tokens to the developer. Like, what is safer? Letting them make changes as needed, or giving them all the tokens where they could just sell them off and disappear?
Now, that's actually still, so that's my next point I was going to make based on this line of conversation is more so than any potential risk with, you know, whether you can read that smart contract or not, is can you trust the people who own those smart contracts or not? Because they can change the values usually. They could probably drain the contract if they wanted to. They could send the money to wherever they wanted. Centralization is a very real thing and is often necessary in these very new experimental projects. So, like, if you don't have that level of control as a team, that's a risk for the participants. And then also, if the participants can't trust the team to be good stewards of the capital going around in those funds and to manage them properly and not just like steal everything because they control all the wallets and contracts, then that level of trust is necessary, I think, for most people. And that's a risk we all take with putting our money in things that other people control out here. So building that trust, I think, is super important. And evaluating based on your own judgment and gut instincts and all the factors involved, audience, like, make your decisions as best as possible. Stay vigilant and be skeptical. Ask tons of questions. Try to catch people in lies. You know, ask things that throw them off. Like, who cares? You know, you're out here trying to protect your capital. Like, you're giving them your money, right? So, and I'm not just saying that about you guys. I'm saying about every project. And like, I watch these AMAs other people do with some of these really, really shady people, and you can just, like, boom, instantly, I'm like, oh, red flag, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But my experience with you guys has been generally pretty good so far. I mean, and by generally I mean the whole time. I have nothing bad to say about you guys at this point, so don't prove me wrong when I say I like you guys, and I think you've got something really cool here, and I hope you do a really good job managing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we put a lot of time, a lot of energy and money into making this. You know, we have no intentions at this point, you know, to screw anybody over. The whole point of this is that everybody can make money. And that's actually something I brought up previously. When you think of a project's success, what do you look at normally? Like yourself, if you're looking at a token or a project, what do you consider one successful?
One where I get my capital back, whether I made a gain or not. Ideally with gains, but heck, at this point in DeFi, if I just get my initial back, I consider that a win.
Right. Because I've seen a lot that talk about, you know, we got up to this market cap, or, you know, it was started here and got up to this price. But it's usually, like you said, for you, it's successful because you got your money back. You didn't lose, right?
Yeah.
So what if projects were actually overall judged based on how many people actually profited or didn't lose money? And that's what we're trying to do, is be essentially the most successful project based on the fact that everybody can make money in this. And that's our goal at the end of the day.
And that's also a separator between a project like this and a project that's like a poker game where it's money in, money out, zero-sum game. And those projects are okay with me as long as everybody knows what it is going into it and that they're competing with each other. But if they're making, you know, false promises or deceptive marketing saying, oh, you're going to get 1,000,000% APY, and like there's no revenue streams or anything, like it's just like 1,000,000% APY, I'm running the other way anyway these days. Like that's crazy. That doesn't make sense. That's not a thing. That's not real. I'm sorry, people. That's not real. Right. It's not in US. That's not in US dollars either. That's going to be
that's in tokens.
That's in tokens worth a fraction of a penny in a year. Anyway, I've been there. Yeah, but I'm glad that you guys are running this with external revenue sources. You've got that gamification that I like. I like these poker games, by the way. I love the multivariate strategies, trying to outsmart each other. I got people in my community. I got whales that are just like, they're sharks, man. They're playing like 5D chess with each other out here. And like, I'm not on their level, but like, man, if I can make 5 or 10% in a month on one of these projects without getting rugged or something, like that is fun and that's a win for me. But I'm also using risk capital that if I lose it, my wife's not going to divorce me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. And we're trying to reduce the risk, and we've got stuff built in to become more sustainable or to increase hype. And because that's what it's all about. How do you get people in? You hype them up.
Yeah.
How do you survive? You become sustainable. So we've kind of tried to hit this from every angle so that we will not have the same fate as all these other projects out where they just peter off into nothing and a lot of people lose money.
Yeah, and that, I mean, this is crowdfunding for small businesses in this experimental fintech space that is super cool. So, like, yeah, most small businesses need investment capital to get up and running. You've already put 6 figures into this thing at this point, building this out. And yeah, so I understand it's always going to be a part of it. You can't really do it without it unless you're a billionaire, millionaire philanthropist and just doing this for funsies. But that's like a super rare thing. But if you're a regular person with a really cool idea, I love this space, low barrier of entry, anybody can do it. Just you gotta not be not a piece of you know what. You gotta hopefully be a good person, operate with integrity. Yeah, exactly. So all right, now how I got a couple more questions. How is the team compensated by the protocol?
So we will. The dev ops, we will be taking a salary out of that. We will have also tokens, stakes, and actually some of those tokens are because we've put money into this as well. But we do have actually, it's not even a very big dev allotment for each of us. But again, they're going to be staked at launch just like everybody else. And so that's where our compensation is, mostly probably from the small salary. Don't worry, we're not going to do something like another guy did where he was like taking $300,000 a month. That's stupid and ridiculous. It's going to be something that we can live off of,
Yeah, and I'm okay with people making money with their businesses and their inventions, but there is a line that you could cross where it's like, you're being a successful entrepreneur and enjoying the fruits of your labor versus like benefiting at a great expense to your customers, basically the people that you're providing value to.
Yeah, we're not going to kill our project because we want to make money. No, that's not. This is for everyone to make money in. So, we're not trying to get rich off of this. Maybe like 5 years from now, we'll be rich off of it or something once it's successful and grows massively. But, if that happens, that's great. But otherwise, it's just to, provide, it becomes a service for everyone, essentially. And we're going to make sure it's successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a fair compensation strategy, especially if you're responsible managers and, like you said, not taking a $300,000 salary when there's only like $500,000 in the you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was
not. Yeah, people are absurd out here with that stuff. But yeah, so that's good to know. Thanks for being upfront about all that. And you guys said you are KYC now, or you will be shortly?
It will be done before pre-sale.
Before pre-sale on the 20th. So in the next 7 days, you will be officially KYC'd by truth seekers, right?
Correct.
That is the goal.
All right.
Well, we'll make sure it happens. So we're trying to do everything right here,
I would absolutely advise that KYC before you launch. Absolutely, even before the pre-sale launches. Absolutely, especially with the stuff that just happened a few days ago. Some of these projects, So yeah, I totally. That is my not financial advice. That is my business advice. Get that KYC before pre-sale, and people will be very happy about it.
Yeah, we're not going to be like, hey, once we reach $1 million pre-sale, we'll KYC. No, I think that's like a huge red flag. Gosh. So we want that done beforehand because that's the right thing to do.
It's the most absurd. It's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Ever, dude. Oh my gosh.
It was.
Yeah, I heard that. And I'm like, scam. Like, if you've got the money, like that is probably the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself and the community if you're not a total scam artist. So
exactly.
I look forward to seeing you guys follow through on that in the next week or so. And feel free to reach out to me when you do, and I'll post it out to my my audience. Let them all know. That stuff always, it's feel good stuff all around. Know that there's some level of accountability and everything like that. So
yes,
All right. So, do you guys have multi-sigs? Will there be multi-sigs in place on the wallets and contracts that have any ability to steal value from this protocol?
Yes. Yes, we will have multi-sig set up on our staking and also the whirlpool as well. So any point where there could be a large, as you said,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
the major thing is the whirlpool. That's 5% of the supply. I mean, as far as the contracts, we can't even pull tokens out of the staking contracts just ourselves. Like, we made sure there's stuff built into the contracts that take away our power to cause harm, essentially.
Okay.
And we made sure of that.
And like the weather contract where you can change some of those parameters, is that also going to be controlled by a account that is under a multi-sig?
We actually haven't talked about that. We're not planning to like make frequent changes to it. Okay. We might go ahead and do that, but
so this is a conversation we're currently having with our auditors.
Yeah.
I do this for a living. I do. I mean,
no, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm a software engineer, so yeah.
That's where we can't answer. We haven't been able to answer fully on this one, just because our auditor is asking us some questions and making us reevaluate what we're going to be doing. But for sure, the whirlpool is going to 100% be behind a multi-sig. So
cool.
Any one of us go rogue.
As well.
Yeah, liquidity as well.
Nice.
So yeah, because we want to actually be able to adjust the liquidity if we want to swap it from like BNB to BUSD based on market conditions. So if we lock it in something based on time, that could cause issues. So that'll actually be locked into a multi-sig wallet. And so it'll take several of us to actually access it. And that's one of those things where we'll reach out to the community to see how they feel about even changing that stuff over.
Yeah. And that whirlpool essentially, is that essentially like your project's treasury that most other projects would say, like, we've got a treasury account or wallet that is, is your whirlpool essentially your treasury?
I guess.
No, our whirlpool is more proprietary investment. It's something completely new. It allows us to have tokens later in the lifespan of our project. So a lot of times when tokens get to the later stages, they can no longer give out community funds. They can't list on different exchanges because they don't have that pool of tokens available to them later in the project's career. This is going to be a way for us to have a constant influx of Fathom tokens that we can use for either the community, or always the community is what we're going to be using it for, but to do other things like listing on DEXs or any other or central exchanges that we want to do. But most other people's treasury would be our DevOps, I would say.
Okay. So when you guys talk about DevOps in your white paper and everything, that DevOps allocation is essentially the treasury, and that just DevOps, for those who don't know, that means development operations, and it's a blend of application development and IT operations, which is essentially like all of DeFi is DevOps in some form. It's a mix of development and IT ops and financial management, essentially. So, all right, so your DevOps wallet, that's all under multi-sig, you said?
That is another thing we haven't discussed, because that's not pulling out of our, that can't harm anybody at that point.
It could hurt the project, though, if you guys rely on that fund to run the business.
Like marketing or something.
I've also seen projects I've seen people rug the marketing budget and walk off with $250,000 and the project did not recover. I was in a project like that.
That's true. That is true. And that's something we probably will do, because then we can, as we need the funds, we can put out to a different wallet, then we can, disperse from there.
Yes.
But then just access the multi-sig once we need a chunk of funds and stuff.
And that's usually, I think, how a lot of projects do it. They'll be like, all right, here's the main treasury under multi-sig, and then like once or twice a week, you guys get together as like the decision makers, essentially, the trusted people on the multi-sig, and say, we're going to put $10,000 this week into the marketing wallet to pay for the expenses for all this stuff or whatever. I think that's a good middle ground. that still gives you that agile
Right.
factor that you need to work fast out here. Also, with the multi-sigs, you guys will be setting up. Do you know exactly who's going to be on those multi-sigs? Is it
Yes,
going to be
it's going to be the three DeFi nights.
the three? So you, so Sergey, Bishop, and the lawyer. And is the lawyer
Yes.
also going to be KYC'd?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Dude, he's scary. Like, he's this really big, hairy guy. Like, he already knows who we are and stuff. So I don't want to ever have to come face to face with him for something I did. But aside from that, yes, everything else.
I'd be more worried about a lot of guys like that in prison if anybody did anything wrong, right? Like, that's the scariest thing of all. So I think that's like the KYCs are the best insurance against anything, rather than, you know, your lawyer friend coming and beating you up. You know, imagine 20 of your lawyer friends beating you up every day for the next 10 years. That's
absolutely. Yeah, no.
I hope that does not happen, by the way. That's a terrible thing.
No, that would be, no.
Just joking around. But yeah, no, that's why KYCs are so important, because it prevents people think about consequences more when they realize they can't just like disappear into the shadows with everybody's money. But that's a great conversation we just had about multi-sig setups, and I've seen this before, and I know as you guys are setting up the multi-sigs, you got your auditors and you got true seekers. They're really good at multi-sig management. I know, because Dowking and I have talked in length at this privately and publicly. But make sure when the multi-sigs are set up, each of you, including your lawyer friend, all sit down together and you look at the multi-sig on bcsscan.com. You see that every wallet on there is actually your wallet, because I've seen the people who set up the multi-sig sometimes put on their own wallets on it and then pretend to accept it for other people's behalf until one day they just decide to rug it, right? So
always verify.
Yeah, hold each other accountable, verify it with your own eyes when it's all set up before you guys fully launch, and I think we'll all be a lot happier for it, because that's a sneaky one that a lot of people don't see coming, and it's happened to my audience one time, and I just want to make sure it never happens again. So, all right, last things here. Would your project be able to survive if one of your core team members were to move on to do something else, were to disappear, or were like to get hit by the proverbial beer truck, God forbid? But do you have continuity plans in place in case somebody goes missing or something?
Yes.
Yes.
So because we have everything set up in the way that we do, everything's going to be pretty much up and running at the beginning. The largest thing that we're going to have to worry about is the jet stream, and how do we, get access to the other person's wallet. So hopefully be an amicable leave and we're able to do that. But if someone was to die, then we will be having to set up some trust and some things like that. And that's one of the things we're looking at doing in the future with our lawyer partner and everything. But that will, hopefully it's not in the first month or two. That's all I can say,
Yeah, that's not a question a lot of people ask, but it's good to know, especially if this thing's going around for years and years. Like, life happens, right? So I always like to know whoever's got the keys to the castle that I have a bunch of money in has an insurance plan if something happened to them, that somebody could take over and carry on the business in a trusted and secure manner. And that's good. You have a lawyer friend who can set up trusts and things like that. I would totally advise getting that all worked out within that first month or so as you're implementing your business plan. All right.
Yeah, and that's something I've seen before. But carry on. Go on.
No. Go for it. Before
I was going to say, I've thought about that too. If you've got a project run by a single dev and something happens to that dev, it's done. And we don't want that. Again, this is the next 20, 30, 40 years. We want this to just continue. And, like with the multi-sigs, I looked into it. We want a lot of this to be automated with the revenue. So it's going to automatically collect whatever rewards, send them off to where they have to go. Unfortunately, at this point, maybe they'll come out with something soon, but those kind of like APIs can't run in multi-sigs because they need more than one signature. So a lot of that stuff will be in just regular wallets so they can run automatically. Maybe someday we'll have the technology that allows it to. But just to be, you know, fully upfront and transparent on this, automation doesn't like multi-sigs.
No, it does not. And there, you know, there are some protections you can put in place. Obviously, using secure API protocols, server management, and in your smart contract, you can validate the incoming values into the public-facing functions parameters that get triggered by those scheduled task API calls that just say, like, basically you can have your API send like the thing that says, hey, weather contract, distribute, you know, or execute the buyback and distribute that to the ocean or whatever, or like to the waves contract. Hey, randomly at this time of the day, send out the, you know, the rewards, the treasure, you know, to everybody's treasure chests or whatever, where they're accumulating their where their mass is. So with that being said, you can like validate, and I'm sure your auditors have checked on this with your developers that develop these functions, but you can see, like, make sure like this has only been called once or 0 times or don't execute it. So like if you're distributing rewards every 15 minutes, it'll say, has it been executed already once?
Right.
No.
And that's through all the smart contracts.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, we've got the Fathom validator running. I don't want to have to go there every single day to pull the funds out and send it to 2 or 3 different locations. I want that to happen automatically, because if we have like 20 validators, that could take a lot of time to do that, even on like if it's every 2 days or something. And that's more than I'm going to want to have to do. Plus, you know, just let it run automatically. So that's the kind of things that the multi-sigs don't work with. But as far as the other smart contracts, you know, those are all going to happen through the transactions as it goes and stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, if you try to set up a multi-sig with that kind of thing, yeah, I can see how that could be very problematic, especially if you guys are in geographically separate. Well, I guess maybe you could set it up depending on which like staking pools you guys are, you know, validating. I don't know. So yeah, however you guys do that, people can, that's all blockchain stuff. So if you guys are like, if one person's like siphoning off the validator profits that should be going to the buyback and burns from the weather contract pulling from the jet stream profits, then there'll be evidence of that on the blockchain, right?
Yes.
So you guys can also keep each other in check if you ever felt the need to. But yeah,
you'll be keeping us in check because you know how to find that stuff.
I do. I'm very good at it, and
like,
I love.
Jay, why is this stuff being pulled occasionally to this?
I love procrastinating my video work by digging it, by going through the blockchain like some kind of cyber sleuth, and then I realize like I've wasted 2 hours and I'm not going to sleep again tonight. So yeah, ADD, man. What can you do? All right. Speaking of ADD, let me run through these final questions here.
Yes.
Do you guys think your project would survive if this bear market continued for years?
We're excited for it.
Let's go. We get to accumulate these validators at a super good price. So then when the bull market hits, we are set up for amazing success.
All right, good answer. That's true. If you guys can get enough capital to get some validators or any significant amount of them right now, that's super cool long term, right? Like that's like the best case scenario than buying them for 5-10x the price in the bull market. Even with the extra capital out here, then like it's still such a good deal if you could get it now.
We were hoping to launch almost a year ago, but we would have bought a Fathom validator at $2 a coin. Right now, it's like 20-something cents. So we would have bought it at the high and been screwed because now, 10% of the rewards. So we're set up nice. Like all of our delays have been a godsend because of what the market went through. So now we're finally here. We're ready to go, and the market is setting up prime. And if we stay in this market, we're fine.
And one of the great things about the validators, real quick, is just that if we were in that position, we bought high and then it went crazy low, like it keeps going lower and lower after this isn't the bear market. The bear market's what's coming next, We're still going to be making a return. We're still going to be having income coming, and it's still going to be something more than nothing.
Yes, that's right. It will still be producing validated rewards. Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. what do you think is the biggest risk to participants in your project?
Well, I mean, with anything else, we are relying on revenue coming in, and a total market crash, of course, that would just devastate everything. But we're going to do our best to make the best decisions with the revenue stream. But just like everybody else, we might make a wrong decision. I do actually think that's probably the biggest risk, is that we get rugged as a system, which we're going to take every precaution possible to prevent that. But other than, I mean, and our system is complicated. There could be an exploit that got missed from 2 auditors. That, I think, is potentially the largest risk. I mean, as far as what we're going to do, I don't consider us being a risk, because I know what our intentions are and how we're going to manage to do everything. But yeah, I mean, us getting rugged in like everything or something would be the biggest risk at this point. Bishop?
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know if it's a risk, but the biggest drawback of our situation for why people might not adopt it is because how centralized we are. We are very centralized. We have lots of control over the contracts and everything else, and that could be a big turnoff for some people. And I think the other biggest risk is people just not understanding our protocol whatsoever. So it's just not adopted, where a lot of these people may adopt it very early on and have great faith in it, but it just doesn't produce anything because the larger audience wasn't able to comprehend or adopt. So I would say early investors have the biggest risk, and that is really about it, as I could think. We really made this to minimize risk as much as possible.
Okay, those were very honest answers, by the way. Normally, I get sometimes I get some funny answers, like, oh, the biggest risk is to participants is them not participating in the project. Like, that's a funny one that I've gotten before. But no, you guys are that's very honest. Yeah, the risks of the market conditions, obviously, that's usually what people say. But then, like, people not getting excited about it sufficiently enough to get this thing up and off the ground. And also, any early participant or anybody who gets into any business venture very early on, they take the largest risk. Therefore, they end up, if everything succeeds, to have the highest reward, right? And that's why, venture capital people who do, like, Series A and B, like, seed funding, like, they take super high risk on, like, super new ventures with the hopes of, like, really high rewards and gains, whereas somebody joining in later of an adoption curve or something, like, the risk reward might not be the risk might be less, but so will be the reward, right? And that's generally how it works. And then also, I appreciate you guys saying basically centralization. Like, if we, like, you're pretty honest, like, if we mess up or get rugged or something, or if we get tricked by somebody we trust, something like that, like, that's like usually the main risk out here, but nobody ever like no project owners ever talk about it. I talk about it all the time. I point it out all the time, but, like, that's a super big risk, and it's I'm glad you guys recognized it, and I also appreciate that you said, hopefully, I trust us. You guys said, us. I trust us to operate with integrity, but hopefully we don't get rugged or tricked or something like that, or mismanage anything, because it's a business at the end of the day, and you got to make strategic decisions, and 90% of small businesses fail in the real world. Yeah, so very thorough answers, you guys.
And just to put on, like, I don't trust anybody, especially in DeFi. And we had a guy that we knew, he launched a token, but when he was still in the pre-sale stages, he was telling me, well, this person has this. And I was like, dude, does anybody, like, these people that have control of your funds, you need to have control of everything. Like, that should be, like, this is your project, you're doxed, you need to have control of everything. He's like, oh, no, this person's very trustworthy. I trust this guy. Well, he had 4 people. One tried to steal $90,000 worth of miners. He failed. He disappeared. A second guy who succeeded in that. Another guy, they had a refund of $300,000, and he decided that was his money, and he just disappeared. Then a fourth guy, right after 3, he still gave another guy control of the marketing fund, which was being built up in order to try to redo his mining thing. And that guy wound up taking all the money out of the marketing fund. And I was like, dude, I gave you the best advice you didn't take, which was let nobody else have control over anything. And he trusted people. Oh, it's so bad. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were stolen. So it's literally going to be the 3 of us are the only ones that have control over this. And we've been working together for over a year together. We know each other, you know, so, and that's it. Like, nobody new coming in is going to have any control over any of the stuff because, you know, it's our asses on the line and it's people who are putting their trust in us. And we just want to let you know, we're not trusting other people with your funds as well, because it's stupid too. And by doing that, we're allowing others to take advantage of us, and we're just not going to do that.
Good. Very good. I'm glad you're hyper vigilant out here as well. And
like, no, YaBonks, you can't have control of this wallet. Just back off, man.
Hey, guys, let me set up your multi-sigs. Let me set up your multi-sigs for you. Send me your wallet addresses. I'll get you set up on there. Don't worry about a thing.
Oh, sure. We won't check them either.
Yeah, and then just approve everything that comes through. You're fine. Anyway, yeah, no, that's totally great advice. Don't trust anybody out here. I don't trust anybody. Not even myself. I trust anybody like 99%. But like, heck, I sometimes get tired and I pull all-nighters. Like, I hope I don't fudge up the numbers on my ledger or like click the wrong smart contract, right? Like or click a phishing link. Dude, I've seen project owners get hacked and get their Discord servers get taken over and then the hackers post phishing links to fake smart contracts that steal the tokens from these people, and it's posted from the actual account of the project owner who got hacked and didn't realize it. I've seen that, man. Also, what you said, I was in another project. Hundreds of thousands of dollars got stolen by a rogue dev that they trusted because they had worked with for years, but he had ended up just being like a snake in the grass, lying in wait. And as soon as he had enough capital built up and he had enough like backdoors he built in, he just was rugging that thing the whole time. And we all found out later, like, what the heck? And it was a multi-sig deception that the founders were too trusting to their tech guy, who was in, you know, Timbuktu, middle of like a country where you can't go after him, basically. So to us, like, he's in the middle of nowhere, like he's inaccessible physically. You can't go after this person. Anyway, I'm glad you're vigilant. That's my conclusion. So, all right, now that we've covered a lot of the risks and everything, you guys, I think we've done a sufficient job there. For anybody watching this portion, take everything under advisement as DeFi and everything. And I'm always looking for fun projects that I can participate in with risk capital that meet my pretty high, risk tolerance level. I'm a gambler at heart, so like I'm willing to toss a couple bucks here and there in DeFi that I don't care about losing. But with all that being said, like, I think you guys had some really great answers. The only way this could have been better presented, I believe, is if you guys were showing your faces on camera. I understand your reasoning not to, and you did show yourself to me. We video chatted for hours now behind the scenes. I get it. But for the audience, I think that would be like the icing on the cake, is you guys, you know, coming out front on camera at some point.
Yeah, and I get it. I do. And at some point we will. That is in our plan. So, you know, we're not doxing, but we're also not trying that hard to hide ourselves, honestly. So
yeah. Yeah, and it's totally understandable. So I personally don't have a problem with it. You met all my conditions in my vetting process. So I'm cool reporting on your project and asking all these questions and stuff, and then letting my audience, they're smart enough to make their own decisions. They can make their own judgment or whatever. I'm not going to try to mislead them. I'm also not going to use referral links to try to shill people into getting into this stuff. I don't do referral links for financial products, DeFi or crypto. So like, I don't care about that. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. If you guys want to participate. If not, whatever. I don't care. People be like, oh man, YaBonks a terrible salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. I'm an analyst and a reporter and an interviewer. One risk I do see that we talked about earlier is potentially a whale coming in to the, and I know you guys had a defense against this, but like a whale coming in and buying an obscene amount of the staking pool, and having so much mass that all the mass and treasure, you know, the rewards that are emitted would all accumulate to them faster than other people, making it less fun for other and less profitable for people involved.
Well, actually, no, because we're going to be. Remember, we're giving a percentage out based on the total mass. So even if with his mass, if you have 1,000 mass, we're giving out 1% daily, you're still going to get your $10. But also, I mean, think about it. The whale is eventually going to leave. He's a whale because he doesn't hold on till, you know, he doesn't hodl anything. He doesn't hold on until it's worth nothing. And we have, if that was an issue, and we'll be able to turn the rewards way down and kind of push him out eventually, you know, if he's not getting the right reward. Well, that's another, it's built in. It's available to utilize if it's an issue. If he's taking all these rewards, we cut the rewards down to the point where it's too low for him. He leaves, and then everybody receives all those reflections, and then we kick it back up to 1% daily. So everybody is now making a crap ton more rewards because he was there and he left. And so we're hoping whales come in and then leave.
Yeah, and and just to clarify, that would be a very special like situation where you believe that somebody is being super malicious or something, that you would dial down those rewards to preserve the overall
especially
ecosystem.
If we know that if they come out and they say they're doing it maliciously, then you know, we're here to fight against that, because it's going to be better overall for everybody else.
That would have to be a super whale, by the way, that buys a position that is like so much bigger than all the other whales as well, that like the amount of money to do something like that, and if this thing got even like small to medium size in terms of TVL and stuff, they would have to put in a ton of money, I think, to make that situation happen. But it's something that I thought, it's one of those edge cases where like, what if a dude comes out with like $10 million or like $5 million and it's got like, you know, $500,000 in liquidity locked up or something, and he just like owns 99% of the pool. What would happen?
Well, first he's going to cause a major greed spike by buying in. If that's the case, we're going to see like a 30x on the price. Yeah. So a lot of people that have treasure, they're gonna be like, oh hell yeah, and you know, claim their treasure and sell it off and make some good profits. But I mean, if then they wind up owning a lot of the mass, they could, I guess, do harm, or they're just now taking a ton of money in, and eventually they'll probably leave.
And they could single-handedly fund all of your validator purchases for that you could ever want, and then the thing would be sustainable, and they could just sit there and milk those validator rewards and the potential thing and just let you guys manage everything for them. And I mean, we're pulling a 36% tax from him, so I mean, $10 million, we just got what, $3.6 million out of it. So yeah, the project overall will be much better off. It's a lot of validator nodes. That would be a lot of money coming in. That
would be insane. Highly doubt that would ever happen, but that would be absolutely insane.
Well, if you guys had somebody if you guys had like a super whale that like really believed in this thing and thought it was like very unique technology and wanted to basically own the whole stake in the thing, like they could. And I'm just trying to, you know, talk through with you guys like how that would benefit everybody involved, and it sounds like it would. In that scenario, like they would benefit because they want to own this thing. Yeah. Everybody else, like all the small fish like me, we'd benefit because the price would be through the freaking roof. I'd be like probably like 100x, like 30, like use a 30x or something. That's unreal to me. And then the project would basically be set up long term.
Sure.
Right. Like.
Yeah, and that's the goal, is being set up long term. Our revenue stream would increase massively at that point. You know, so now our long term sustainability has just increased greatly. And again,
I love these thought experiments, because this is a question that I sometimes ask in my risk evaluation section of the interview, especially for seniorage protocols and tomb forks, or like rebasing protocols. A lot of them didn't have any kind of whale protection or some kind of thing that was mutually beneficial for whales to get involved at extreme levels, and instead would find ways to exploit tokenomics models to basically drain a project by just like owning such a large percentage of it, getting all of the inflationary rewards and just dumping, and then running away when it wasn't fun or worth it anymore. And that's a risk that killed some tomb forks. And I think it's okay for whales to do that. You just have to design your systems to be able to benefit from that kind of activity. And it sounds like you guys had a pretty good answer for that if that were to happen. Where it'd be win-win-win, basically, for everybody involved.
Yeah, and right, so with us, it's beneficial when people leave. And what is usually the easiest thing to get people to do? They freak out and sell out and leave.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the huge benefits of our system is we're actually kind of dependent on that. So there have been times throughout this, I'm like, what if nobody actually unstakes and leaves? And I'm like, what am I talking about? That's going to happen no matter what. Because it happens everywhere else. Why wouldn't it happen here, right?
YaBonks FUD videos for sale now. All right, I've got a new business offering.
YaBonks, quick, make a big ass FUD video. Call us every name in the book. Get these people to leave, please, because they're killing us.
Oh,
you know?
that's
never hear another.
That's one of the things we're actually scared about the whales doing is actually them funding a FUD campaign because it would help them in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. We'll be like, guys, please stop funding us.
I actually have whales in my community who talked about that about you guys. No joke. No really? Joke at all. I'm not even making that up. Like behind the scenes, people said that to me. And they're like, they joked with me, could you make a FUD video? And I'm like,
Wait till 3 weeks after launch.
Just wait till after launch.
Me and my animal sanctuary could really use the money, so maybe YaBonks FUD videos for sale now. Just don't prosecute or just don't press charges for slander, and we got a deal. All right.
Actually, do it on day 3 of launch. So this way, we got that 75% ripple tax. So when the people who do freak out leave, the ocean becomes extremely large, and we're hugely deflationary as all those tokens are sent to the ocean. And now, what started with 500 million tokens is like 600 at this point, and everybody's rewards increase, though all those reflections come in, and we're stronger as a protocol. Everybody gets better rewards, so let's do it. But we're not okay. We're not actually going to do this, guys. Okay, so this is a joke, but this is something that would be beneficial to us as a protocol and every staker.
It's funny though, man. That is super funny to talk about, and it's good that you've set up your protocol to benefit from FUD and sell-offs. Like that's kind of a new thing that projects have been doing this year, is being like, okay, people will FUD to manipulate it. Let's benefit from it. If they want to sell it, it will benefit everybody that stays in the protocol. And that's a hilarious answer. Yeah. So good answer there. Man, what was my other question? Oh, I wanted to let the viewers know. We mentioned a lot of pieces of this protocol that we did not dive into the weeds and mechanics of every single one. This would be a 10-hour video, no joke. You guys know me. I would pick this thing apart till the cows come home. So I don't want to be redundant when there is some really, really great videos already made by Pocket Aces on YouTube. Go look up Pocket Aces. His name's Justin. If you don't know him, he's in my community. He's amazing. Great content creator, great interviewer. And so is Good Day Crypto Sean Clarke. Amazing content creator, super good interviewer. They did fantastic jobs breaking all of the complicated mechanics and smart contracts and terminology down. I watched their videos. I understood this stuff super fast. Go watch their videos if you need to learn about every little nut and bolt in this thing. They did super detailed stuff. It's great. Awesome work they did. So did you guys went on Murdoc and you did some like demos and really got into it there too. Go check out Murdoc's video. It's really, really good stuff. Who else did I watch on this? Did you guys have any other ones that I'm missing that I watched? I don't know if you guys know which ones I watched or not, but
Jake Crypto, I think, is that his name?
Okay, I haven't seen the Jake Crypto one yet.
And Crypto Kingdom, we just had one yesterday with, and they have posted their video. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I didn't see that one either. Oh, that I forget the guy's name. Is it Matt Bills who did like your
Matt Bills, yes.
Yeah, thank
your
you.
fast
Oh my gosh.
tutorial videos? Those are great.
Yes.
Those are like super fast, just like downloadable
Yes.
chunks of this thing. So check out Matt Bills on YouTube.
And I went through those several times to make sure everything was accurate. And he
Okay,
nailed
good.
it.
I watched those a whole bunch of times preparing for this before I even started going and writing my questions and everything. But yeah, so check out Good A Crypto, Sean Clarke, Justin, aka Pocket Aces. Go check out Matt Bills on YouTube, and go check out Murdoc as well. They did really detailed videos. I don't want to be redundant and just redo the same thing because we share a lot of the same community members and audience members. I wanted to kind of touch on some strategies and philosophies maybe that people hadn't asked about yet. Now, with all that, with everything we've covered so far, where do you see this project in 6 months to a year?
Well, I think in about 6 months, we may be going through a little bit of trouble as we're trying to get the adoption in, and it's every crypto J curve happens. So we may be hopefully starting to come out of that, but by a year, I think we'll really have our feet under us and we'll have the weather really cranking in some money. So there's not going to be much to say about that.
Okay.
You know, and I keep trying to kind of vision this, but because of everything value-based and it kind of reduces that risk of getting in at the top, we could see something that we've never really seen before in any other project. Because, you know, like I said before, I've looked at many charts that were green. And I'm like, I'm not getting in that. I'm gonna lose all my money.
Yeah.
But that psychology portion is going to be different with this once people start to understand that. And I don't know, we could just see a lot of, you know, going up for a long time. I don't think 6 months. I don't think that's really possible for any protocol. But I don't know if I think in 6 months, we'll start to see a lot of adoption. I think we'll move a little bit quicker than Bishop suggests, which, by the way, we've never actually discussed this, Bishop and I. This is the first time we've been asked this question. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of things differently than what we've seen in previous protocols. And what I do hope to see, though, is rewards, like reflections, to be at least in the 50 to 100% for everybody. I think, like, I would feel that's very successful, that enough people have left and reflected those mass, that everybody just from those reflections is receiving 50 to 100% more rewards than they were from when they got it. That's what I would love to see in that 6 months. And like years later, like, again, if people just keep coming in and out over time, somebody could be 10x just on their rewards calculation by doing nothing else. You know, just because people are going to leave. People will find it, buy in, stake, and a couple months later be like, oh, this protocol over here looks cool, and leave. We know that, and we're counting on that. We are totally counting on that. No matter how good we're performing, people will leave to go to something else that's newer. So yeah, that's kind of where I see us, is we'll be trucking along. We'll have revenue coming in. We'll be doing buybacks, and everybody who's staked will be earning.
Yeah. And that's why Hex was so successful, basically, is they took advantage of people thinking they were diamond hands when they weren't. They set up a protocol that basically took the fees that people get charged, essentially, if they emergency unstake before their pledged amount of time, and they pay that out in rewards to the people still staking. And they've got like it's a whole system. It's kind of complicated algorithm. You can find white papers on it, but it's very different from this. It is like the mass thing is completely new, nothing like that at all, but it's a similar concept that they're trying to reverse engineer DeFi in a way to actually benefit long-term holders and stakers versus penalizing them. Because at the end of the day, you guys do want to do some cool stuff, crowdfunding a bunch of capital to create a business that could generate long-term DeFi rewards for people involved. And you want to, at the end of the day, I think, reward them for lending you that capital, essentially. And they, like, we're out here in DeFi, and I'll lend you my $20 or whatever if I think that, you know, you guys do good with it, and maybe it becomes $40 in a year or two, and that'd be, like, fun and cool for me. Or, you know, everybody on their own, right? Everybody at their own scale. Maybe $200, maybe $2,000. I don't know.
10.
$10, yeah. My job though is just to kind of figure out if that slot machine is working and how shoddy it is and how shady the people are who made it. And like you guys are, I think you guys got some really cool here, honestly. And that's, guys, whoever's listening, I'm biased because I like these guys. All right, I've talked to them now for hours and hours and hours. They're super nice guys, behind the scenes, on camera, everything like that. Like I said, I've known this guy for like 15, 20 years. We haven't been in touch, and I don't know if we ever even talked back then, but like we raced against each other back in the day, right?
You definitely won some races against me.
I was very good at cross country and track. Yeah, I was.
I can see that. You still have the energy.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually how I used to blow off the energy. My parents made me join the running club. You probably know which one I'm talking about. The local running club there. And because I was getting in so much trouble as a delinquent because of my ADD, ADHD, I was just getting in all sorts of trouble. And my mom's like, you got to go 8 a.m. every day, or like 7, 8 a.m. year round, every single day. You got to go run through the woods for an hour. And I graduated. I did a 4-minute, 26-second mile, 4:26 mile. That was my crowning PR in running. But I know some people will be like, 4:26. I run a 3:56. But yeah, it's pretty good for me, right? Anyways, hey, like some people say, DeFi is also a solo sport at the end of the day, kind of like running. Yes. Even though we ran on teams. We're really running against ourselves to see if we could improve and do better. And I think that's how DeFi is, kind of like we're all out here trying on our own, even though we're in these communities and in these projects together. At the end of the day, like we each got to make our own decisions and perform how we think is best for us, and be ready for anything, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, man, I'm glad we're ending on kind of a fun, personal note like that. Everybody loves that stuff, dude, because there's not enough like human-to-human interaction out here in DeFi, and that's like one thing that I can bring to the space is like a human element. I could like, hey, not many people actually know somebody from the DeFi world, and just happens to run into them because I vet everybody behind the scenes. So it's super cool running into you, Bishop. Like, what are the odds of that?
I think he's muted. I know that was funny.
I had to blow my nose, but yeah, not very high, man. Not very high chances. So it's pretty cool to see some people from my hometown succeeding in their own way.
Yeah, that's right, dude. We're doing it, man. We're doing it. Yeah. I don't want to say which town. I mean, people know where I'm from, but yeah, man, it's cool seeing my hometown representing out here, and I hope you represent us well going forward as a manager of this protocol. I hope you operate with the integrity and values of the people of my homeland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, can we go a little higher level than that? From what I've heard.
All right. Operating with the integrity and values of the good people from my homeland. All right, we all got,
Okay, that's better.
Dude, times are crazy these days with what's going on in the United States, with things sweeping through our nation that are harmful to communities and all of that. I'm sure many of you are familiar, but I still know a lot of really wonderful, great people from my community that I grew up in, and those are the people I'm referring to. So I hope you operate with the integrity and values of those pillars of our community.
We'll do. Well, we hope to be pillars of the DeFi community. So,
hey, I hope so too. And you're in the YaBonks community. You're in my Discord server. Link in the description. If you guys want to have access to them in a free for all, I will not ban you scenario. Ask them whatever you want. Just no threats of violence, please. But yeah, free for all zone. They're in there. These guys are members of my community as well, and my community's already put them under pressure. They've given you an interrogation like immediately, and you guys did well. I mean, you held your own. I've got some very skeptical, vigilant people that will tear project owners apart in Discord, and you guys you won some of them over, and it was very impressive to see. You don't see that often, so take that for what it is.
Yeah, one thing I'm asking everybody who's looking through, if you find a vulnerability in our system, please tell me. That means I've missed it and I need to get it fixed before we even get launched if we can. You know, because I mean, I've gone through everything mathematically. I've tested everything through our D app, you know, probably like 15 different times at this point, 15 different launches. And I can't find anything else. So if you're going through and you see something that could cause us to fail, because that's really the, you know, the make or break point there is there something that can cause us to fail? And I don't believe at this point there is, but there may be. And if you find it, I will want to know about it so we can make that adjustment. Because we are very dynamic, and that's what we've done all along. Is we've made adjustments as needed.
Well, you don't hear that very often. You don't hear that very often. So YaBonks community, I know we got a lot of developers in it. I know we've got a lot of cyber blockchain super sleuths. So go to the DApp on testnet and pick it apart. Try to break it, and if you're a good person, let them know about it so they can fix it. But sounds like you've already survived 2 audits, so would be certainly interesting if somebody were able to, at this point, exploit it.
Well, the second audit is not 100% complete, but the feedback we've gotten so far is, hey, this is really good code.
Yeah.
So we hopefully will have that report here very soon.
Well, a lot of those audits have half of the tests are completely automated. They just run your code through automated tests to check for like reentrancy, exploits, make sure your parameter validation on public facing functions is like normal, and that, you know, stuff like that. Make sure your you know, public and private facing stuff is set up correctly, and that you like just anybody can't just go in and change values. A lot of that stuff is just automated. So if you pass like the automated tests, generally from like a security standpoint, you're good. And then they have a specialist come in and kind of analyze the business logic and make sure it makes sense with how you're advertising, how this works, and that there's no way somebody can gain an unfair advantage by finding like a loophole or something like that that might not be readily advertised, right? So all right, you guys, my sorry, go ahead, Sir Jay.
No, I was going to say we're told there's no audit. Everything is they're going to go through it line by line, like several different people. So
white glove.
White glove, essentially.
White glove.
It's not just an automated one. They're going through everything. Which we're excited about.
I like that. I'm gonna start saying I do white glove AMAs. I put on the white gloves and I pick it apart under the microscope and show it for what it is. Dude, that's awesome. I need to get me an avatar. That's great.
We can set you up with the guy that created ours.
Dude, I got nothing.
Fiverr.
So, last question. Well, I have 2 final things that we can end on here. The next question is also forward-looking. Where do you see this project in 3 to 5 years?
Oh, we'll be cranking. We'll be cranking it big time by then. We'll have such a jet stream and revenue stream coming in. I feel like we'll be pretty household common name knowledge by that time.
Oh,
so
wow.
You know, Shiba, Safe Moon. You know, I feel like we can get to that level. I do.
That would be.
I think crazy. A lot of people will be trying to copy us. Definitely, if not, have already succeeded in doing so. But yeah, I can see it taking over a lot of certain stuff, becoming a new way for everybody to try and fairly reward people and different focuses. You know, because again, during this whole time, our revenue stream should be growing as long as we don't get screwed in some way, and as long as we have revenue coming in, we really can't die because we'll have buybacks from that, and that's usually what these all wind up dying from is outside, or buys occur, and then everybody just leaves. So 3 to 5 years, yeah, gosh, I haven't even been thinking. I've been thinking like a year out. I can see where we'll be at. And again, this is just the first portion of what we're doing. We have other things in the works. And I mentioned this before. One of them is to allow the system for others to come in and use our system, which is why we're keeping it proprietary. And so that would become another source of revenue for us, is other projects hopefully that they have their own revenue that they're generating, can utilize this entire system to fairly reward their own investors and such. But yeah, 3 to 5 years, gosh, we could be massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be real cool.
It's one of the things I'm concerned about with doxing is I kind of like my quiet life. And I know if for some reason this does become huge and we become celebrities, that quiet life goes away. Mm-hmm. But you know, I'll dox just to increase the safety eventually and stuff. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, very cool. Bishop, what about you? Where do you see this in 3 to 5 years?
Oh, I thought I already said it. I feel like it'd be Shiba or
oh, that's right.
Safe Moon.
Yeah. That would be wild if you guys got that big, and would be super cool to see looking back. Yeah, man. I hope it succeeds. I hope you guys operate well, and you know, keep putting all this effort that you guys have put into it over the past 14 months. And I hope the launch goes well and on the 20th. Yeah, so I hope it carries forward with much success. And I hope for everybody watching who decides that they want to participate in this, I hope for their sake as well, it has much success. So I give you guys my best wishes, and I hope you operate well and with integrity. So yeah, do you guys have anything else that you want to tell the audience today before we wrap this up?
One thing regarding launch, even if you put into the pre-sale, none of this is financial advice, of course. Yeah. But I'm gonna participate in our launch because I love fair launches because they're so much fun, right? And so this is gonna be just like a fair launch because everybody's staked. Plus, we're going to have basically a maximum amount that you can buy. And it's not going to be very huge because this way, I did this one fair launch and like the first buy was like $7 and change. And it was the best fair launch I was ever part of because you didn't have 1 or 2 people buying a crap ton of the tokens using a sniper bot or something and destroying the launch. So we're going to have a maximum buy. It's not going to be very big. So everyone can just get in, you know, early with everybody else. And that was so much fun. And I actually did very well on that one. And so that's what we're essentially going to be doing here. Because it was very fair. You know, everyone, when you can only spend like $7 or $10 on tokens, a lot of people are going to be buying around that same price. You don't have one person spending, you know, $50,000 and jacking the price up 30% at launch, messing everybody else up. So launch is going to be fun. Even if you save $10 for launch, just not financial advice, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, cool. I'm looking forward to it. I love a good launch, especially when there's a lot of hype about a project. You guys are going through some of my favorite, personally, my favorite YouTubers that I really like I was saying, like Sean Clarke, Pocket Aces, Murdoc. So I'm happy to see you getting them involved because we all got a lot of the same community members. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And True Seekers, I know they've got a really great community over there as well. So that'll be kind of a cool launch over there on Command Swap. So let's see. There's something else I wanted to ask you. Oh, yeah. I got people in my community from all over the world. And a lot of them are always looking for opportunities to make money, but they might not have a lot of capital to invest up front. Now, personally, I don't do referral links for financial products. I used to have like a drip team thing. I had like 15 people on my drip team. I stopped doing that as soon as I started learning some more about being a YouTuber and an influencer. I took all that stuff down. So I don't do referral links for finance stuff, DeFi or crypto, but I got people in my community from all sorts of countries all over the world with different, different jurisdictions and things like that. And they might not have the same kind of laws that they might want to, or like regulations that might be coming. Who knows about how to operate out here? So they might want to make some money. Can people who might not have a bunch of money to play around with in here make some money helping you guys out somehow?
Yes. So our Shilling School does not require investment. You can go, once we do make that live, you can go and make the referral link And as long as whenever somebody uses your link, you will receive what is called work tokens, which is also just like mass. It's a tracking token. And we have this ever-growing pool, a staked position, and every 8 hours, whatever has built up from the ocean in that will be sent out to everybody who holds work tokens. And for a full week, you'll be able to earn off of every single purchase that is made through your link. So yes, we built that into our system, and it's not going to go live for probably about 2 weeks. You know, once the normal hype starts to die down, we're going to kick in this referral system. So that as people are out shilling, they don't even have to shill their own bag at this point. They're shilling to earn from our system. And this is an ever-growing system, right? Because 1% of all buys that do not use that referral link are actually staked into that contract. And so it's going to be, as long as people are not using referral links, it's going to continually grow over time. And
Awesome.
so, yeah, and that's a forever payment system. It'll never end. As long as our system is running, that payment system will exist.
Very cool. So for those of you who are interested in that kind of thing, they have the Shilling School, where you can get a Shilling School ID that you can share with people who are interested, and you'll get some you'll get some kickbacks from that, and it can also go towards the long-term sustainability of that kind of sales commission type marketing system. And interesting. So good to know. I'm sure a bunch of my community members will use that to make some money. And are there any checks in place to prevent large influencers from maybe getting too many referral rewards or anything that could skew like the reward distribution and things like that?
No, I mean, that's getting really centralized. But the cool thing is, after a week, those work tokens are burned automatically. So they're going to have to be on top of it to be constantly getting those.
That's what
And
I was. That's what I was referring to. Yeah. So
But
that's
it'll
a
be
cool
cool
thing, though. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll get to the point where you're the only one shilling potentially. And as long as you get somebody to continue using your link, you'll be taking all the rewards that have built up every 8 hours.
Nice. So after 7 days, that work token that you get stops emitting rewards for you. And then,
Yep.
so that way you can't just sit there and milk these referrals for the entire life of the project, whatever, like we see with some other stuff that I'm in projects that are like dying because of they didn't factor in the referral system. They didn't put protections in place, but that 7-day limit on the work token, I think, is a really creative idea for your referral system.
Yeah, that was all Bishop.
Yeah. Good job, Bishop. That was a good one.
Thank you, sir. I have some good ideas.
I like it a lot. Especially the part where it says, if you don't use referral links, I don't. I'm fully doxxed. I run a nonprofit. I got a lot on the line. I'm not going to be out here pushing referral links for financial products, DeFi or crypto, when I'm not a financial advisor. That's above my risk tolerance personally. So it's cool though that in the description, I'm gonna put my normal link to just the website itself. It's not my link. It's your link. It's just gonna be Fathom.finance. That's it. That's the only link you'll get from me. And if you go there and you don't use a Shilling School ID like referral link, it actually goes to the Shilling C contract that will never be unstaked, which creates a C floor price for Fathom. So actually, you, instead of giving out that referral reward to like the dev wallet, like I see in these other projects that do this, like you don't use a link. Oh, guess who's the referral rewards go to? The dev, like his like personal wallet, or like I see that stuff in different projects. You guys actually put it towards building a price floor by adding to like protocol owned liquidity, essentially, right?
Yep. And it's not even just using a link. It's, I don't know if you can see this, but in our our section where you can buy it. The shilling code is just a wallet address. So once that has been created, the shilling code I can zoom in a little bit here.
There we go.
Yeah, let me get myself out of the way. Thank you. Move your butt, Sir Jay. But once you create it, you can, anybody can then take your wallet address, pop it in here. So that's when it will be important to be used under this shilling code. And then any purchase, buy or buy and stake will generate work that goes to your wallet if that's your shilling code. And so there is a 1% discount on tax for the buyer using the code. That's why we say 1% that doesn't use the code goes to that contract. But if somebody uses the code, that 1% does not go to the contract, because we wanted, there to be some benefit for a buyer to go through the trouble of using somebody else's shilling code.
I see. Okay.
Without hurting the protocol in some way.
Do you have any shilling codes out there for people who do want that 1% discount? I can't give you guys one. I refuse to do it on just because I'm such a public figure and all that stuff. But like, do you guys have one that goes to somebody that you guys like, or who do you?
Well, it's not even live yet.
Yeah.
So the shilling code won't be live for anybody until we are actually launched on mainnet, fully launched, and also we're going to have this portion hidden for the first couple of weeks so people can't create a shilling code while we're auto compounding the payment system. So this won't be available for about 2 weeks in.
Okay. All right. Good to know. So when that is live, though, people can get potentially a 1% discount if they use one of their friends' codes or something.
Yep. Just come here and create it. Be a few pennies or so to create it through the smart contract. And then there will be a link, or it's just basically this portion of the link plus the wallet address.
Got it. All right, cool. So that's interesting. Neat little system there. Bishop, good work on the work token expiration limit. I think that's pretty clever. Yeah, so I think that's great, you guys. I think that's all the questions that I had. I wanted to cover. I will get this video out in the next couple days, hopefully before, well before launch, and I think my viewers will enjoy this interview here. Not only did we just we didn't just walk through the white paper, which is fine, and going through everything that needs to be done actually on this protocol. It's super, it's super involved, right? And I'm glad the other guys.
Check out the white paper.
Yeah, go check out the white paper. It's long. It's like 30,
very involved.
It's 30+ pages, like legit. It's long, but it's good. It's very cool. Now, a lot of new stuff I haven't seen before, and some of my YouTuber friends did a ton of very diligent work covering that stuff. So go check them out. Go like their videos and support them. If you like this, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you like this content, I want to keep making more of it. So check it out. Follow me in the Discord. Go say hi to Sir Jay and Bishop. Go ask some questions. And I've got a live stream I've got to get to now. I'm only an hour late. That's pretty good for me. Hey, you guys, thanks for taking so much time to put this together with me in the way that I work out here. I know I'm very high maintenance and I ask a lot of people, so I appreciate you guys giving me a lot of your time.
This is 6 hours in.
What can you do?
It's been great. Thank you so much, man. You have a great night. I'll check out your live stream later.
All right.
Thank you so much for bringing this to your community's attention.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll send them your way if they have any questions. Thanks, Bishop. Thanks, Sir Jay. And Bishop, if you're ever down here in Florida, we should go for a run through the trails, like old times.
Will do, man. Will do.
I'll come and watch you guys.
All right. Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Yeah, be sure to check them out, and I will see you on the next one. See ya.